Well, as we have said, DJ, we were going to kind of put you in a hook here. Bring everybody up to that point where we said we were going to pick up Sullivan from the last game. I paused there because DJ did catch part of it, not fully it. So we'll see how this holds up. But for you, DJ, before we get started, what's the last thing that you know that you were working on that you were ready to address this session?
Last thing that I remember Sullivan was doing was he set up the meeting between his son's girlfriend and himself, trying to see if he could intercept his rapscallion child, if that could even be said. And he attended to business there because he was still distraught over the loss and his very low humanity as it starts encroaching upon him. And he took some time to himself to kind of recollect.
To that end, to address that, we're going to go. Some of this is going to be, I should set this up for you. Some of this is going to be part narrative for being respectful of time, and due to the fact that there were certain things have done. So though you missed game, people have progressed it forward, and we had to add an NPCU to a point where I know what Sullivan would be doing. So we're going to address what you just said here in a second. But no, we're going to get it to a point to where we know Sullivan's going to get a call, right? And we're going to chain all that together, so bear with. So you're visiting the campus of where your son's located, right? And it's over at USC, which is a hotbed of activity for your coterie of late. I want Sullivan to note, you to note for Sullivan, that your character is well aware of what's going on here at this campus is a sort of time bomb relating to police brutality, civil rights, women's lib, the fact that there shouldn't be a women's lib, there shouldn't be civil rights, it should be human rights. And talks of Black Lives Matter being something that it now is time for a change. That's a big thing. Where there's I won't even say a debate. There is a individual who claims to have family tied to what the Black Panther Party once stood for, not necessarily what it is now, back in the 60s, and what is 60s, 70s, and kind of what it meant to come about. And your son's kind of a known figure for that. And as you ask around, like, known for it, it's something to point out. Nobody knows as Sullivan, walking around this campus doing his thing, and you kind of milk it to its effect, right? You don't really want people to know who you are or draw that attention. You're a vampire, right? But you know your son well. And when you start asking around, it's easy enough when you mention him. They want to know if you were here for endorsements or if you're here to talk to him about his speech team performance or things like that. And he's pretty much active in the student body and in being vocal. Very quickly, though, I'm going to need you to give me a politics, and we're going to go with your intelligence here. We're going to see if we can note something real fast and kind of stop the mystery as to what's going on with that.
Politics intel, okay. Five and the magical hunger.
All right. Real simply, your character is able to put two and two together. Critias has kind of the run of this facility, so it's not shocking to you that there would be an openness, practice, and maybe encouraged for students to kind of challenge the status quo, speak out against certain political agendas. And it's really kind of a university thing. It's college life to make a protective environment for people to explore what to care about in the world. And people take careers, right? They train for the career that they're going to be able to go to fit their interests in that regard, or change the world or not to change the world, depending on what they're there to do. Usually you want them to have that apple pie in the sky thought. Well, truth is your son's on a different level. And that's by all accounts and measures. It's weird. It's like somebody handpicked him on the fast track. You can see that he has his name up for the speech team and that they also have high points in taking for the state. He came in second. Last compete, you heard nothing of it. You also know that the last guest speaker on the civil rights movement was your son. It was around Black History Month, and it's kind of weird that he was. I mean, he's not African American, not that you need to be considered someone in the studies, but where did he go and what direction has he been going in since you had him here? You knew he was here to get into like a financial degree of some type. That's what's listed. That's what you've been paying the bills on. That's what he told you. but you're sort of stuck in that kind of the parental thing where this is what my money's been paying towards. Is this like, is he a little anarchist? Like, you're trying to figure out what it is, because especially in Illinois, he's going such against the grain to build those right connections. You're usually a fan in telling him it's not about what you want, it's about what people believe you represent, and that perception opens up doors. And if you're willing to eat a little bit of crow, as they say, they're willing to give you a little benefit towards your actual ideals, as long as you keep supporting the status quo. That's how the game's played. It doesn't seem he's doing that at all. It seems like he's here taking your money and funding to represent a far left opinion, right, wrong, or indifferent, but is filled with contention. The moment you tell somebody that I'm standing up for rights, immediately there is an aggression that folks have, depending on what your stance is. To that end, you're here to kind of reconnect, and you know that, a very selfish reason. Sullivan is feeling at odds. What happened to his wife, that definitely hit him hard, and he's here to kind of preserve that sanity, find his center again of what keeps him human. And it pisses you off that where you're at is a microcosm for an expression of what the Camarilla is. And it's like walking up and finding your son's actually not just a part of it, he's like the freaking harpy on an equivalent level. Like you want to be for the organization of the Ivory Tower, he's like that, but for the university campus. The guy to know, the guy who makes things happen. So it's interesting to you that when you call up here, you have to deal with some snotty girlfriend who doesn't know where he's at, but you begin to put two and two together. She is a super busy, important, high profile, whatever the hell she's got going on, but it's perfect for a guy who's never going to pay her the attention that she would need for a relationship, like a normal person. You know, it's just, hey, we're gonna have to hang out, we're gonna have to know each other and share our woes and issues. She's just like, let me pencil you in for that romantic interlude we're gonna have for lunch, and then maybe I'll see you a month from now if I'm up to it, depending on how insert political agenda business franchise goes over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that and on campus doing that in for what it's for, what is Sullivan looking to do, knowing that probably you're going to find him busy somewhere doing something? The important part, I almost forgot completely, just explaining all that. Knowing Critias, you're thinking Bruja, you begin looking at this event in a different light. This is like a utopia. This is what happens when you have, because I need to make this point clear. It is a strong Caucasian body of students that is supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and changing it to a human movement. That's what they've decided to do as a group. And to the chagrin of actually the people in the Black Lives Matter, because they feel it should still stay black, right? That's where it's at. That's our focus. But the human movement makes more sense to a lot of people. You even still have it to where it's, women's lib. They're the ones that they want that there. We have to stand up for feminists and those views too. And what the human movement is saying is that all of us are equal. That's it. They got assigned nights and days that they want to set up where they can focus on the specific subgroups as they're referring to. But really, it's to understand that each subgroup as a whole, they all equal the same human. That's their shtick. And it's interesting because your son's the one who thought of it. But you think there's a higher level touch here. This does actually remind you of all that bullshit talk about Carthage that Bruja are always crying about. There was no one clan. We were all equal with the humans. They were all, yeah. Your food was equal to you. That's like saying cows are, they're all okay because we eat steak, but cows are equal. No, there's no cow using a side of human before they go out to pasture for a hard day's work, right? That's not equality at that point. That's a gross misrepresentation of power at the least, right? So what would you like to do at this point?
He's going to, he doesn't want to bring attention to himself. He just wants to confirm what he thinks he may or may not know. He needs to see whether or not his son is actually been turned into a vampire. So he needs to see this with his own eyes in order to confirm this fact.
How is he going to do it?
He's gonna meander himself as close as possible to the group, and if anyone ever gets near, he'll flex being a sponsor. He'll say that he's a sponsor because he doesn't want to flex the dad role just yet, to get as close as possible to be able to see his son.
talking to a lot of people. I'm not going to give this to you. I mean, you're a freaking vampire. It's not hard talking to people at a college university to get them to understand who you are, what you're about, and why you're really here. And for the most part, they want to tell you, you seem important, like you should be known, and it opens up doors. When you talk to students, they're just sort of, yeah, it's a cool guy. It's seen him at a couple parties. He's helped me out of a jam. Occasional things when you enter a microcosm of somebody well liked. You even do see the occasional, I don't know that loser, and then move on, right? To some people, clearly it didn't work out well, but you're not going to always have a fan, and you know that. To the faculty, it's, if you want any student connectivity whatsoever, they explain clearly university policy that if you contacted your child by your own means, if you are who you say you are, then you should be able to find them. But if they don't answer your message, that's probably the answer you're going to get. Here on campus, they're autonomous. They're old enough to live here and be as they will, or be in campus as themselves, regardless if you pay the bill or not. Those are the understanding of the university, so they can pursue what they're looking for. And just about as you're tolerating this rhetoric for the second time, you're like, look, I'm just coming to campus looking for my son. Is he here or not? Like, he didn't answer his phone. I got worried. I'm here to check it out. And it's like you talk to a human being. Like, they're so used to either handling that question or some drama that's brought to them. It's so until they're going, oh, that's did you check the dorms? Like, there's a couple dorms that are here that you can check out. They have Turner that's across campus, and then there's the housing. A lot of what the university does is rent out actual former apartment buildings in the neighborhood, and that belong to the university, and people get to have that apartment lifestyle. And that's what a lot of students do. They work, pay half, the university pays half, sort of an agreement. Did you check with the main office? I mean, their admins typically close after 5, but in the morning, if you get there, they'll easily help you out and know what place he's at. I mean, if you didn't know already, but that's where I would check. They still have, the RD, the resident director, and RA will be there usually, if not the RD.
I don't have time for this. I fly out tomorrow. Who else could I talk to?
You lay out the I'm too important, have to run this down and do everything you got going on. You will get someone to call. And what you get is a security guard, right? Because that's what you're directed to eventually. It's like, well, we don't know who your son is. And even if we give us a name, one of how many students? So, or you'll get the, oh yeah, I heard of him, blah, blah, blah. Let's pass on the buck, but security's down the way. Security's down the way. Security starts, giving a call. Hey, can we have somebody go out to the Turner dorm? He's a guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't identify as anything. He's a guy, so like there's no special housing requirement for him.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. So he'll call it down and he'll sit there. Security guard looks annoyed that he has to do it at all. Gives you the impression it might be an off-duty cop. And you can tell they have an attitude, right? They're doing security at a campus. You could care less, right? But fit guy, minding his P's and Q's. A couple minutes later, there's a code that's given on the radio. He picks it up, puts his earpiece in. He's like, yeah. And he'll look at you. Okay. All right, yeah, I got this. He goes, hey, your son hasn't been on campus for like 2 weeks.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, he hasn't been on campus for 2 weeks. He's been reported absentee in like 3 of his classes so far that are willing to report on it. I don't know. We know this much. It's you got till the end of the month for him to show up before they're going to report him to the police. In that regard, because there's no sign of foul play. I mean, we talked to his girlfriend. It's not unusual for him to do business outside of campus, maybe stay at a friend's. And the assumption is he wouldn't did that. So that's why it's a little hazy. If you think, though, if you're here and you can't find him, we can fill out that report right now. Because when it's just him missing, there's nothing we could do. When it's when the parents get involved and you don't know where he is, well, there's no reason to suspect you having bad blood with your child, then yeah, we can move that forward.
No, that's fine. I'll have to look for him. God damn it. You wouldn't happen to know where his dorm's at, would you?
He'll hand you a campus map, and he's like, yeah, it's Turner. And he'll slap at it. He goes, it's basically you're going to go 3 blocks east. And followed across campus. FYI, don't think this is accurate, DJ. I have no clue.
Yeah, no problem.
We're just the microcosm that I've made for this, just FYI. So feel free and relax in that. But regardless, that's where he points at to you. and you spend a little time kind of campus map if you so choose, or you can just take his wording and just head out.
He'll take his wording and head out. He needs to find some aspect of his son here. Who would know? Is there?
I'll give you a big clue who would know. Whose domain are you walking all over right now?
I was about to say, I didn't want to know if I want to bother the big man or not, but if I have to bother the big man, I will bother the big man.
Well, if I have to bother the big man, let's rephrase this. What does the tradition of hospitality and what does domain mean to you? What do those two things in conjunction mean to DJ?
Respect and giving him the respect and the fact that he should know everything in his own land. So if anything at all, he should definitely know what's happening here, or at least have wind of it.
So, and at the very least, etiquette would dictate
Right.
to Sullivan that you should have let him know that you were coming here well before your arrival.
That would be true as well.
When it might have been there, but we've already crossed that bridge touchstone-wise. Why I didn't bring it up before is because it is a touchstone. You are operating on that impulse that I think all kindred have.
Yes.
This touchstone is mine. So I'm coming here to see what happened to my touchstone. And it's not my fault you chose a domain of a public setting. Am I supposed to ask you every time? But cooler heads prevail here. And the answer is yes. It doesn't matter if this is a public access park. If I'm the insert elder that calls this a domain, you had better respect what a predator before you has rights to help what's going on. But assume that, okay, we're here now. I didn't ask permission to cross the threshold, but I showed up.
Mhm.
Maybe I can get a hold of him.
Right. So I will go looking for Critias then, and or his alias.
You do remember where his office was when he held up there, and his alias is something Ralph, an interesting insert Greek name here. You've more or less picked up the pattern. It's a laughable first name followed by typically a historical last name not common that's thrown in, and because you've checked them up even as you went into the class, as I recall, it's the same thing. But this is no different. When you look for said professor, Agropolis, as we'll jokingly call it, you do get told that he's has office hours tonight. You can go see him. Going by there, though, that's where this fairy tale kind of takes a turn. As you start approaching, first off, where this set of offices are for the admins to kind of hang out, and the teachers are down here, and they share probably 3 cubicles and an office for the Department of Speech Communications, and who knows what else, but that's one that you see there that he definitely had a hand. You also know he's heavily deep in the history department as well. He's got a big office. You were in it. When you head here and it's off of the library, you note that all the lights are off. The main door to the first room is slightly ajar. And I don't mean the door is ajar. I mean that it's like about an inch or two open, which is weird. All the doors have like a lock latch system. What I mean by their weight is enough to where when they shut, it should lock them automatically. You see the little pressurized door shut to make sure that happens. They don't want loose doors in a building like this, typically. It's all for security, everybody, right? Employees, everybody who visits, that sort of thing. And a lot of badging in and out in certain spots. You haven't seen this level of security, except maybe a few corporate buildings you're used to. They do have it here. It's because of Kindred's here. And you have no idea what level or how deep if he stays here or whatnot, but it makes sense. It still hits you off that it's dark in there. Every other room has the light on, and where you're no electrician, at the very least, if the lights are just shut off in that room, no big deal. But if they're motion activated and the door's slightly open, certainly somebody's come by or checked in or opened the door to see what's going on. But that door doesn't even turn to shut on itself. What's exactly happening here?
He'll approach the door cautiously, considering what might be there. He'll hold on to the door latch itself and just kind of open it slightly and just kind of peek his head in. Doctor, are you in?
You'll just do that. You'll peek your head in. First, the lights will kick on. Motion sensors do work. They kick on. You'll note that at the top of the door, someone popped up the latch and just left it hang, so the door would have to be manually open or shut. Bit unusual, but that happened. But you also see that the bolt that does it, or like the mini screw that would be in place, most likely to hold it. You see it on the floor and it's snapped rather easily. But there's no damage to the door. Like maybe somebody used a tool to do it. Maybe somebody broke in. Okay, no skin off your nose. I mean, it's what are you going to steal in an office? What's here? However, when you say doctor, are you in? Immediately you'll note just an instinct that she'll take just a quick breathe in real fast, and you smell it. It's blood. Quite an amount, but old. Old as in time, as in been out for a bit. However, that decaying scent is an accompaniment, so it's not. Well, you know what this is. Vampiric blood doesn't decay until it hits like sunlight or something like that. Something accelerates that need for it to break down rapidly. Usually, the signs of life leave it the hell alone in its decaying process. However, if it was human, it should smell like a dead person. That stuff gets like coppery at first, and then rot begins to set in, and nature takes its course. It's a process of hours to days that causes that to happen. Should be a lot of bugs, something to accompany if it was not caught. It's weird though to smell it. It's like, well, doesn't sit right with you.
He'll continue in, and he's actually going to take a look for the source of blood to see whether or not there was foul play. Hopefully, Critias has not gone crazy, because I mean, I know that he is Bruja, so there's a chance that hopefully he hasn't lost his fit and taken it out on a student, or a student. So he'll carefully kind of put the drawer slightly ajar, just to keep things up for display, and he'll calmly walk around the desk looking for where the victim may or may not be.
What you do is when you open the door to the main area, right? Like I said, this is a speech office. You know how this is built. You'll have like a little admin section to know where you're going to go, where the students would sit and wait. And then that's the section you smell the blood. When you go down the hall, there's not like a door, just another hallway. The glass is broken out up top. However, somebody already cleaned up the bits that should be on the bottom. Right? That is an oddity, but it's one that you're noting as you explore further. If at any given point you're not going further, just tell me you're not. And I'm fine with that, okay?
No, he's going further.
But as you see that there's a door open, like none of these doors are shut and locked, and you can tell that. They're like, in fact, they're open. And you get to the first one, it's marked like a Bethany, and whatever that means, and you're looking in somebody's office, it seems fine. Nothing's out of place, stapler, desk computer, no big deal. You go about 10 feet, there's another office, sort of a similar setup, and then you see the office at the end, which you know is Critias. That's really dark. Not unnatural dark, but like you always thought it weird that his office didn't have an outside window. That was to it. It's weird that nobody says anything. You don't know what he tells them, but you know why he doesn't have that. Mm-hmm. And you head over there. When you open the door, first and foremost, as if the door was waiting for you to touch it. When you do that, the door will fall off the hinges itself and will fall further inward. And you'll note that the damage to the furniture in here is tremendous, but it goes one direction. It goes from where you see Critias sitting, who is, by the way, obviously dead. You know it's his body that lays there, but it's not moving at all. His face has been gouged out as if somebody took a cutting implement and just tore chunks out of it. Fast and he could hold his hand up. His fingertips are in pieces, like somebody's cut them in chunks. They're on the floor. It's defensive purely. Like he held his hand up in time to get his fingertips cut, and his fingers cut into bits. Those at the table, that's all well and good. The most shocking is that someone of his age you thought would be able to fend off or fight that off or do whatever. It does look like to you there might have been some truth to that, because you do see there are 6 piles of ashes around his desk, but they're all from the other side. In other words, to his left and his right. You get the impression here, won't even have you roll investigation, that whoever it was jumped him, right? They tried to hold him in place for something, try to line him up for something, and then that last person was really good, or most likely was the one that had the umph that was going to take to put him down or put him in place, as it were. But you're still wondering why he hasn't deteriorated into a pile of ash. This is where it gets creepy. For you, looking at his chest, and you can see his shirt in and of itself has an indentation. And we'll assume morbidity or just having to know what goes on. You want to see why. The shirt lays and then goes inward even still. So where it's on his chest, you also see that it falls and caves inward a bit. And it's right around where his heart should be. And that curiosity has you to give a check. I will say plainly, someone, first off, sliced through that shirt. You can literally pull it back, is what you notice. And the slice was so, I would say, expertly done that it cut through the ribs to where it was, and that being the heart in and of itself. And this had to have been done after the fact when he could no longer move. And they simply took it. You don't know if they ate it. You don't know if they burnt it out of him. You don't know if they cut it out and that was that. But you know this guy's dead, just where he sits. He just, for whatever reason, hasn't turned into a pile of ash, but he was brutalized. Took a group, but it worked, and finally someone punched his ticket. You know exactly what to do with this. However, there's some evidence that someone was here before you. Remember what I said. They came through. The glass was taken care of. You don't assume Critias sat here and held off a group. There is a level of cleanup to this room. You note that there should be a big-ass mirror that he has that was on the right-hand side, probably a bit of vanity that he had. Or it's an easy way to check if you had suspicions about people like Lasombra coming to see you or being in a room or whatever. Always struck you as odd. Thomas didn't like this room when he was here. That's thrown in you because I want to say this seems like somebody launched a plan to quietly deal with him and then leave and hopefully nobody found out. Except somebody did find out and they're working through a process to remove it and get it gone. And you're here in a time where maybe even the killer who survived plans on coming back to finish cleanup and you're here kind of snooping around.
His fangs distend just a little, considering that his back is to the door a moment. I would like to rouse for toughness in the event that this is a trap that's being laid out for him because he just got here and the door banged. So it causes him to be like, if it's going to happen and he's going to throw down, he's not going to go out without a fight. He has to think of an exit strategy. So I will rouse for that. Rouse. If I can remember dice rouse. There we go. I am now at hunger too. But he'll will himself to become more resilient, but he is in. This is not what he anticipated at all. 6 piles of ash, his chest being indented in, most likely carved out. He hasn't ashed yet. There is no exit because there's no window, you said, right? So it's a room. There's only one way out and it's through that door.
Correct.
Is that he's gonna pick up the phone and is it possible to make a politics roll to find out if it's more advantageous to call Ballard with this information or Damien?
Yeah. You can give me an intelligence politics roll if you're trying to figure out a way to leverage this.
Yes. Oh, I'll let it roll. Keep it as is.
So I don't see a reason why you'd have a messy critical having a thought. We're going to ignore that.
Right.
Just you trying to piece it out. So it's what you're going to, eureka. No, I don't think so. Right. So effectively what this is that if we leave it up to a political ideal here, what we have going on is that we could argue to your nature of being a Ventru. This is very much a thought in line of the blood. We can go that route to kind of respect the critical role nonetheless to a point. I'll meet it in the middle. Mm-hmm. You do feel this level of noblesse oblige. Someone should know. Right? This is a Ventru city. This is the Camarilla you're in. We're not in the business of killing elders quietly and walking away. And if you know about it, you need to make sure others know about it. That is your duty. Right? For will the prince protect, will the prince will the city? The prince can only protect what it knows. But what if the prince does know? Becomes the issue. And now you're calling Ballard. You damn well know Ballard is a rival of Kevin Jackson's just enough to want to put leverage over the prince. Now, who do you want to befriend? Want to befriend the prince, or do you want to befriend your primogen? They're both Ventrue. What do you do there? If you call Damien's a Bruja. How is he going to react? He has a right to know, but this is the sheriff. It's a chance to earn points. It's a chance to solidify that relationship, one that you know in an odd way. You haven't seen it. You don't know why they haven't done it. But you do remember the two Sabat and two former Sabat in your coterie had a relationship with Damien. That's how they got brought in.
Mm-hmm.
So they have it. You don't. Maybe this is a way to do that.
You're right. As much as he would like to reach out to his Ventrue kinsman, his coterie is of most important. If this could help him smooth things over by bringing up attention, as he did before, he'll call Damien.
Not too shocking. Damien will answer the phone, and what you hear is, "Man, you better have like the biggest event right now. I'm currently dealing with." Man, what you want, Sullivan?
This is important. We don't have much time. I need you to listen to what I say very carefully in case something happens to me. I'm currently at the university, and I'm standing in front of what's left of Critias.
Uh-huh.
He took down at least 6 people with him. He is still intact.
Man, hang on. He'll pause a sec. You'll hear him say, "Hey, Santos, quit hitting him. I'm trying to hear it. Like, believe it or not, yeah." And he'll pause a second. He'll hear a door open. He'll walk out. Are you just trying to tell me that you're standing in front of a dead Critias?
I'm not lying. I'm serious. I don't know if they're going to come back. I opened the door and the door already fell. I could smell him from here.
I'm going to tell this to you once. If I go to check that out and I get there, and really it's just because you're into some bullshit again with you and your whack-ass coterie, I'm just going to start staking people. I'm just going to walk in and start putting a pine to people. That's it. Like, I'm
serious, goddammit. I'm serious. I know I can't send pictures. I could send it to you if you goddamn want, but I'm telling you, he's here. He isn't anymore. Or at least I don't think he can be.
Okay. So let's just really, man, help me understand. How is it you in a place right now looking at Critias, you gonna tell me that he's dead. You gonna tell me he's dead.
I needed to, and he'll move to actually face the door. That way, in case someone actually does come, he could see them coming instead of having his back to them. And he'll lean against the wall because he hopes someone's going to pop out of the wall. But look, my son's in trouble. I came here. I fell ill in terms of not making the right decision by letting him know I was coming.
Hey, fool, I ain't trying to hear what the hell you got going on other than this fact. If he's dead and you're calling me, who did it?
I don't know. I'm telling you, I just saw this.
I don't know is the motherfucking answer you didn't want to give. Don't you fucking move. You're in his office. You better be by him when I come see you. And he'll hang up.
He'll send a message to his coterie and let them know I'm going to be delayed a while. And he'll send that to them.
So for your edification, your coterie, as we're putting it, we're handling a downtime pre you get to them, right? So I'm going to help you out. You're going to get the usual, like you're going to be late. That doesn't tell them anything. I'm just going to help you out with that.
Right.
Response from Ramsey and Warren and all of them. It's like, late for what? Like, oh, you're going to come to the meeting. Okay, cool. All right, thanks. You're keeping us on up and up. That's that. I'm just helping you with that because remember the time we're in. Right. So this would be just after the last game session you were at, right? So at this point, we're checking up on your son. And you find out this dude's dead. So you have notified Damien. Perfect, right? To this end, we're going to skip this forward a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to get from this? Like, do you want to be here when Damien gets here and there's no one to blame, just you? Or are you looking to just like, you know what? I reported it. I'm not going to be here just in case. Or you have an agenda for being here when Damien gets here for some type of way. Why I do this is because we need to be aware of the outcome, right, before it happens. You are reacting. Saw Crides, you want to report it, you did. You reported to Damien because you wanted a relationship builder. But he brought up a point that's impossible for you to have missed. You just happen to be here, and now he just happens to be dead. And okay, still he doesn't believe you. And then he's going to get here and see it. It's a brouhaha. It's a brouhaha, DJ. Sullivan would be aware of that. You got a brouhaha that's going to come here, and I'm seeing that is this a mentor, a friend, or maybe he hated him. You don't really know. But when he sees him, what if it is a mentor or a friend, and he's dead, and you're standing there like, I reported it. But all evidence seems like it was just what you saw. You're not even a veteran. And it's like there should be broken glass. Looks like somebody cleaned it up.
Right.
That bolt was cut with a tool. Looks like somebody ambushed them and planned it. Like, how did this happen? But here are you standing there, Venturi squeaky clean. Sullivan's perfect smiling glasses. Like, oh, somebody did him in. That sucks.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a good idea. He will jam. As much as he wants to, as much as he wants to stay, you are right. He's not gonna be the punching bag for a Bruja. Like, he's good, but I don't think he can take that many punches, and especially after he's seen Warren, and this guy's a lot older. He's just gonna take his chances. He's gonna walk out and leave the place as untouched as possible, so that he doesn't have to. He's got more important things to take care of, which essentially is taking a look for his son. This is too much of a shit situation.
Well, the reality is that he's the sheriff. You've done your part.
Yeah.
Now they have to call you in, and at least then you got other people knowing that you're meeting with him on the side. That's the safety win here, is to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that often we feel as players this terrible news. We want to be here to win what exactly?
Right.
I know I wouldn't want to be the one to tell the prince, hey, your child's dead, and I'm standing right by him. I don't know who did it, but man, looks like they got the worst end of it, man. That sucks, right? Because what are you going to be at the end of it, right? It's a world of emotion. Probably best for you to stand aside and let it be what it is, and you do. It doesn't help you find your son. However, when you leave, I do mean when you get in your car and you're driving away from campus, it's eerie you get a call from your son.
He'll pick up the phone. Danny, where are you?
How's it going, Dad? I mean, I saw you on campus.
That's rude. You could have said something.
I could have, but that would have ruined the surprise. The number one thing my therapist told me, he said, you got to pursue your dreams, Danny. You got to stop living in your father's shadow. You got to stop thinking that everything's going to be okay, because it's not. There are things you need to do, and there are things you're responsible for, and you have to live up to them. Right? And I didn't know what he meant. I didn't know what he said. I didn't know what it was about. And I thought of you, Dad. I really did. Always trying, always succeeding, but leaving Mom to her own loneliness, where she was to dwell in that sad apartment, no matter how expensive it was, when all she did was love you. It was weird. It got me thinking, all that stuff I'm doing at school, all of it. What did I accomplish other than, I wanted your affection?
Tell me you didn't do what you did to your mom. Tell me it wasn't you.
Wasn't me that what, Dad?
That attacked her.
You think that I would attack your wife, my mother? You think that of me? Dad, it wasn't me that attacked her. You did.
Stop playing, Danny. I don't got time for this.
And that's my point. So you're attacking me right now. I don't got time for this. This is about you. It's always been about you. Always has been. Why did you have me? Why support me? Why keep me around? Why do it? I thought it weird that you always came by, and all the baseball games that you can attend during the day when I tried to do baseball. Remember, I won that golden bat when we did that T-ball tournament back when I was a kid, and I was doing amazing. And they wanted to put me in a fast track and a better camp and a sports thing. And then you went and got a limo for me to take as a kid every freaking game to go to it because you couldn't be there for me. Excuse me. I didn't understand, Dad, why that happened. I just thought you had money. You're a rich guy. That's how you show affection. Mom made every excuse why you weren't there. I thought it was weird. You think kids applauded me for it? We didn't even know why you did it. It was weird. I just wanted you there. And so that's why I threw the tournament. Didn't want to do it anymore. Because if it wasn't going to bring you around, what's the point? And then I did that martial arts because, you made that comment about how you felt weak and can do nothing once or twice in your life, and made some big old lecture about how hard it is to do it. And I was like, I know the secret, Dad. I know the secret to any physicality. It's just consistency. Nobody's great day one, but man, you just keep practicing and practice harder than the other guys and always show up and always do it. Don't fail. Don't ever stop. Don't ever look back. And slowly you start beating your goals. And before you know it, people are putting you in a Wheaties box. It's not a secret, right? I figured that out. And then I couldn't also figure out why I didn't age as much at a certain point. Remember me commenting on that? You told me it was a growth spurt and then stopped hanging out with me. And then I was weird. We used to go to the lake and it would be for that weekend. We'd see you at night. You always came up late. And then you would come by with that hot cocoa, whatever the hell it was, and would help me go to sleep. But then Mom would complain because I'd be a buzz all day long running around wondering where you were, like I needed a little sleep. What was that, Dad? What was all that about? What do you actually do for a living?
I keep the wheels turning, kiddo. I keep the wheels turning. That's what I do. I run my business. I life coach people. I do real estate. I did everything I could to provide for you and your mother as best as possible. I couldn't be there all the time, but sacrifices had to be made.
What I need you to do is give me a wits. And we're going to say insight for sure.
Mm-hmm.
In no way. In no way is he not testing you and you just failed. Right? You've been listening to it in his voice. At least I hope I was Bob portraying it. If not,
Yeah.
I'll describe it. It's a disconnect. He was once full of life, and I role played him for you a while ago. Somebody's like, yeah, how's it going? I'll see you tonight. We're going to get beers and everything. Everything's copacetic. This feels like somebody told him a secret, one that you can't even admit to him. As you're talking about it right now, whether it's a sense of duty because it's an unsecured line, and there is a second tradition of them or second masquerade to consider, or it's a situation where this whoever this is, if it's even your son and you're fairly horribly certain it is, it's just basically pushing the domino chain after the fact, right? They've already fallen. He's just pushing over the first piece, like something jostled the table. Doesn't even matter about the grand setup anymore. The trick's been performed. Right? That's what you feel, but you sort of play your part anyway in that statement. And that's why when you hear him just sort of, for a moment there, I thought we'd be able to talk serious. And we'd finally be able to bond and share in something.
I can't do it over the phone. That's why I went to the college to look for you.
You can do it over the phone. You can do it over the phone, Dad. You can do it over the phone because I'm not giving you an option to do it any other way. You don't think, Dad, I was right by you. I saw you. I saw you enter that office and wonder, I saw the look on your face. Who could have? How could have? And I don't know who you called, but you know of people that would be upset about that old man?
Danny, did you do anything with him? Were you involved with that?
Oh, yeah, I did something. Yes. What I did was win. Dad. It's what I do. I don't know how to lose. And I made sure to build myself up for that because I still wanted your respect. I didn't do anything but rely on the guidance given from a very concerned religious figure in my life. And they revealed to me that the world we live in is a complete lie. That success and failure is all about what you're willing to risk. But I discovered there's a smart way to apply that risk factor of your life. And the answer is just make enough people to go before you. I want you to imagine for a second the look on his face, Dad. I'm serious because I didn't record it. I wish I did, right? Here we are sitting here. It's new student body. We get to come in and we're like, oh, someone had done something to us. We attended an odd party and look what happened. We woke up and we don't know what we are anymore. And he was all, well, let me tell you about the age of when this used to happen. And back in my day, and he actually fucking sat down. You know, we rehearsed this multiple times. We sat back and said, we're going to walk in and he's going to know. And he's going to ash the whole room, just a pop. But that did happen. Like a whirlwind of destruction he had the moment two of us grabbed him and we thought we were quick. And then we finally saw what speed was. You have no idea the power that exists in someone until you press them on their terms. We were in his home. We were where he lives. We didn't give him an out. And we pressured him and we snuck in and we did all our tools as we were taught. And we were promised, whoever survives this, keys to the kingdom. That's what was said. No less than a win. And you know what sucks? I'm going to tell you what sucks about this the most. It's hard being an anarch, Dad. It really is. Hard pressed. I thought about it. All the politics, all the poli-sci, all the opposition, all doing it. And it made the most fucking sense to me when I sat back and I heard him say, and I quote, you can't sit here and understand what it is to be like Cain. You can't have any vaguest conception because you are not poisoned as he is. You have no idea. Stop living up to trying to be a father that will never love you, that will never understand you, that you'll never understand. And it made perfect sense. I only thought of you when I killed that old man. And I was supposed to get on the phone, and I was supposed to call our handler, and I was supposed to check in with the Anarch Council, and I was supposed to let them know what happened, that it was successful or wasn't successful, or whatever bullshit that was. But they couldn't tell me that inside me would be a hunger and an absolute need to devour what was in front of me. And so I took my knife, and I cut into him thinking it was you, and I hoped you could feel it. Because the one thing they told me, this is the guy you ditched me for when I got my BA. When I walked that aisle, when I was getting my degree, when it was the next step of process to move forward ahead of my class, all the culmination of all my success, and you ditched me. You couldn't be there. You didn't even bother. And when you weren't there and I cut into him and I had access to his heart, I ate it whole. I don't care about those people that died before me. They were collateral fucking damage. And now I'm a god. I let you live, Sullivan.
You know, the funny part about that, Danny, is I was about to offer you that one same thing too. This isn't the end. He wasn't the end.
It isn't the end.
People that I work for, there's one out. And I could try to save you. There's only one out. It's the last thing I could do as a father to save you from this mess. I just need you to give me information so I could take care of it. But if you don't, Danny, they will come for you.
Let me tell you
Not
what he
me.
says. Let me tell you what he says. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you're in the winning camp, right? You haven't got it yet. Despite me almost losing my shit there, you still haven't got it. You think I'm sitting in ignorance that we don't know? You think the youth don't know? It's you old dinosaurs that think you meet in buildings and backyard alleys and have to talk for hours on end about nothing. The future is the youth. It's the youth. When we met and we talked, they went lightning fast. We knew what we had to do. They needed people to sign up and be on board for making changes, to shake up the status quo. I know what you represent, and you have no idea what that means, but you're going to. And the fact is, this is step one. It was always step one. Prove to your organization that they're not safe by taking the strongest of you and dashes the ashes to the dustbin. That's it. It was going to take lives to do it. But you name one good cause that doesn't. The status perfectus, the removal of all titles, all of them. No more primogen, no more prince, no more seneschal, no more harpy, no more stomping on the necks of people and calling them anarchs and saying they don't matter. No more fathers who are going to sit there and preen you so they can feel better about the lives they suck down their own throat. You stand as a peer on your own too now. Now, every night you wake up, know that there's a woman dead you called wife, and there's a son who is haunting you. This doesn't end for you. Not at all. This is more than personal. And I took the first step toward making sure it happens. And Riot showed me the way. And I know what the way is. And the way through you isn't to kill you because that's too easy. And honestly, you're kind of pathetic in that regard. You sit with people you think you're lording over and you don't understand. You've been given to kennel hounds and you were told to make them something and you failed at that too. We were told that. You were a target for the movement. They couldn't talk to you. You signed up for that prissy-ass membership out of that club that clearly caters to elders and you think you are one. You know, elder, Sullivan. What you are is want to climb the ladder and the status quo and all that nonsense. So whatever club you belong to, and several from I understand, but you're like an old wasp, right? And I'm nouveau riche, right? I'm like making satellites for the world and becoming the richest man. You know that route. You're a dude sitting back and saying we're still Johnson & Johnson make Band-Aids. Surely that's going to be more important to the world than anything else. I've passed you by just like this conversation. Keep your eye on the news. And he will hang up.
It's going to be hard for him not to frenzy.
Yes, I understand. However, you could resist, considering you're in a car and in public if you like.
He will attempt to, he will spend the willpower in an attempt to resist.
Well, I'm going to do strippers off composure. I see willpower is when you can feel it coming and you can do something about it. This is different. This is attack on a touchstone who's been changed. Right? Mm-hmm. Unmistakably, why I'm not bothering with the mechanics of your touchstone being hurt and you getting aggravated willpower damage, you're role-playing it. We know the pain that this is going to cause Sullivan. At least I hope people get that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Absolutely. So what we're dealing with right now is if this gets worse for where you're at. And that's what Resolve Composure is going to reveal.
3 successes, sure.
For that, we'll take it. It's Sullivan. It's almost like it's upbringing. You remember your Gauge, right? Or your Gogi, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Mm-hmm. This is what Noblesse Oblige is all about. You wanted to groom him to be a consummate adventurer. Yes, he was a ghoul. Yes, you wanted everything right in life, but someone got to him first. Can't be helped. Then again, your situation is not being a perfect adventurer, although you don't think there's ever such a thing. You know what I mean? It's that realization that Sullivan has. Consider the coterie you're with. Now, you know Damien's going to get there. You don't know what he's going to do, but that's sheriff business. That's not yours, but you did your part. Conscience clean. I'm going to give this to you because you made the politics roll already. That other half of the question I asked you, let's say you do try to leverage this with your Primogen or somebody else in your clan. What does it get you? Well, initially, nothing. But if you contacted the sheriff first and you contact them second, that may seem better. And that's really what keeps you from losing your shit as you're driving. It's all on how you leverage the situation you're in at any given moment.
Mm-hmm. He'll place the call to Ballard.
Now, you're used to Ballard having somebody answer the phone for him, blah, 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 and bullshit. When it's straight up Ballard to getting to the point, he answers the phone and it's kind of a desperate thing. You'll hear it fumbling for a moment. He goes, Sullivan? Yes, please. Sully, pal. Good to hear from you. What news do you have? Did you get the package?
The package is in the process of being secured, sir, but I have something
more important. No, we were not. We're not dealing with this first.
I have something way more important to tell you, sir. That would be...
You couldn't possibly have something way more important to tell me than a situation I asked you to perform, simple by any standard, which was a taste, a toe in the water, to a path I'm trying to groom you for.
Sir, I believe it's
in the works.
Tied. It's tied to... Hear me out, and if it is not worth your time, then I will be at your beck and call for as you choose. However, you wanted to know, I will tell you, and I tell you this as calmly as possible and take into consideration the channels in which we speak. Critias is no more, and I have witnessed this. I have alerted the sheriff. However, no one else knows of the situation. Furthermore, I have one more thing to add to it.
Let us stop for a moment. You have called me and have addressed nothing of my needs. You have told me something that I more or less considered would happen at some later date. If not some random bruja, it would be some La Sombra, if not that. Perhaps a child of Hakim would get tired of whatever miscreant exists outside in the badlands of the city. But here, right now, at this moment, you were tasked with doing something for me. And what I needed you to do, you haven't done. And so, an agenda. It's how we move forward. You have failed me. This is not done. But you have given me something to consider.
I have more, sir. Maybe perhaps this is tied to you.
Well, maybe, maybe not. But before you deliver this, like someone I'm holding a hot plate and you have to spit it out uncontrollably. How did you learn of his demise? Did you do it?
No, sir.
And perhaps that is the greatest failing I've heard. So you're reporting to me that you have found his dead corpse where?
At the university, his domain, within his office.
Well, who has killed him?
It is my belief due to... I have a source that has mentioned that this was an act delivered by Riot, who had used mass students to overwhelm him. I believe that this is an anarchic situation, and I believe that whereas it may have been a touch and go with you, I would have no reason not to believe that Riot may or may not have also decided to mess with the Primogen, that you were the first, and they executed upon Craigie second.
All that aside, whether I believe you or not, and put my weight where it belongs in support of you in your trying time, it is for you to understand the situation I am in. Now I have you. You're telling me something I haven't heard. That's good. That means you had the information first. However, whether I pretend to have never heard it at all is based on whether or not you choose to, of course, now get it done. And I don't care what you have to do. You drive up there and raid the place. You bring yourself a shotgun. You bring yourself a bat. You do whatever it is you must in your suit and your Warburton best. I could care less. But you will go in there and you will remove my humiliation, as I have asked you 3 times now. That's thrice.
Of course. Well then, sir, I'm going hunting, and I will ensure our name stays as prestige as it is. Is there anything else you need of me, sir, before I go?
I need you to get the job done. Then we'll talk about next steps. It's not that I'm deaf. It's that you need to learn. You handle the part you're given. And then there's more. Reward works this way as well. Give me nothing and give me problems and tell me of potential problems. What am I to do but consider you to be the source of a problem instead of a solution?
Understood, sir. Very well. I'll call you with results.
And I will wait. And he'll hang up, right? Kind of funny because you'll hear like 3 numbers pressed. That lets you know what type of phone he's on. You know what I mean? Like it's one thumb, beep, and before it's done.
Yeah. Once he hangs up the phone, he will reach out to his coterie and let them know we need to hunt for Ballard's tape and or Riot.
I'm going to bring this up because I'm curious about this. This is your MO, you as DJ. I'm curious about this, right? It's like 3 times you've told these guys, can we please go out here and get it done? Like, just go out here and get what's there and come back with it. And when you sent them out there the first time, what happened?
Nothing.
Right? They came back with what? A story about some kid in a mall that you didn't even tell to enter. Right? This place seems like a setup. There's Nosferatu markings everywhere, or whatever it was, and you were like rolling your eyes and pissed off. Like, no, guys, seriously, a Primogen asked us to do this, and you came back. And then what happened? well, let's downgrade it because we want to go to the park and mess around looking for something else, right? And then that led to what? Some crazy ass riot you were in. And it's like, it doesn't matter. And so calling them does what?
You are completely correct. So then he's going to do the best thing he knows possible. He is, I think he's at that point where he's Michael Douglas and falling down. He needs to find himself some ammunition, and he's going to take care of the situation himself.
Okay. Are we legitimately finding ammunition, or are we just going?
He's legitimately finding. He's going to at least get some weapon, whether it be a Walmart shotgun, a nice little Walmart rifle, and or a pistol, and he's gonna do the do.
It's not hard for a guy like you to decide what sort of money it would take to get a hold of a gun. I will make this. It's not as easy as you walk down a street and it's in a vending machine like the assumption is of America.
Right.
This is one of those things where you know a friend of a friend tells you I got a buddy who hunts. I can get you like a 30-06 and some buckshot, right? That classical skeet shooting combo. It's a powerful gun, but this is not a semi-automatic Daewoo combat shotgun kicking in doors and ending threats, right? This is more like, the dog, bark, bark, bark. Birds fly up, boom, dun, 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 right? And you grab it and bring it back, right? Those classic sounds. That's more or less what it's like. So you will get your said gun. Now, the local affairs is we're hand waving it, right? Not trying to kill time of how that would be. But we'll say it's 2 days that go by and it's prep work. And what you do is you do get a hold of the ammo and it is an exchange of just simple money. And the person gives it to you and simply tells you, hey, if you have an accident with it, just do me a favor. Don't throw it out. Keep it. I'll send a guy to come get it. They won't find it. They're pretty confident that that's the instruction and you're okay with it. It'll dawn on you, though, that whoever this friend is of your other retainer, kind of interesting. Because for them to have that knowledge, and you think about it, how do most criminals get caught? Typically, you shoot the gun and you throw it away.
Right.
That's how it is. And then, like with forensics and magic, the CSI team finds it, traces it over to your mom's house where you're serving priors and hiding out, and they find you in the basement, right? Something silly, right?
Right.
But what if you kept it? What if you kept it and kept to your story? I was home the whole time and have alibis, which indeed that's what that person's doing. And you rather respected for that in and of itself. Why I'm pointing this out? It's a point for Sullivan to take stability, which is something I think is needed to see that things do work and make reason as you move along. The other point of this is that desperation isn't the feeling I want you to have here. As for DJ, you might be on a hot skillet and do whatever. You built a character that's pretty rock solid. This dude's done $1 million deals before. He's somebody who's ate pressure and decision making at a high level. That's basically nothing he ever needed. He couldn't talk himself out of, and no one ever said no to him. That's sort of Sullivan's hallmarks, which makes him ideal for working kindred politics because you know how to get along and you definitely know how to butter up to the right people. This situation is different. You have your breech loading gun or what have you. I'm joking about the breech loading, but it might as well be that, right? It's very nervous holding a 30-06, the fact that you have to load it, and it takes you a better part of 20 minutes to get used to that. And then it's getting used to the kick and being far enough out to do a couple test shots and get that done. And you have that before you finish your fateful drive all the way out to Gurney to go to Six Flags Great America at night. The choice I'm going to give you is you can go when the park's open, right? It's open all the way up to like 10:30 at night, where like the last shows and everything else are done and are winding it all down. Kind of need to go there at night anyway, right? You're undead. Or you're going to wait till it's closed and you're going to find a way to get on the lot.
He'll go when it's still open.
The problem you have is you got this your gun. Surely you understand you're not getting into an amusement park designed for family with a 30-06, just sort of walking in like you're going to go shoot Elmer Fudd, or at least Bugs Bunny, with the help of Elmer Fudd, I should say.
This is true. Walking in is going to be an issue. Is there perhaps a survival role that I could use for Sullivan to think of an idea of how to bring this in?
An idea of how to bring in, like sneaking in?
Yeah.
It's not a function of survival, right? This is more or less, I would agree with any capacity of stealth and streetwise.
Okay.
Right, that's what we're looking at. But I'm going to let you look at your sheet. Do you feel, looking at it, that you have the streetwise and stealth know-how to think of a way you might be able to smuggle a gun on these grounds? It's not like a pistol. This is a shotgun.
This is true. No, not with a streetwise of 1. That would not be ideal. Yeah, that is definitely not going to be ideal there.
So here's what we're going to look at. I think pictures can help clear this up a lot better than I could describe it, or rarely we're just going to let pictures do the talking, not just for time, I think effect. There are people here who are enjoying like some side exhibits and whatnot, and there's even a mini magic show that's going on. And I do mean a mini magic show. There's somebody on stage right now in the middle who's sort of doing a little table tricks, right? These would be card tricks to anybody else in the street, but it's a bona fide magician, right? They have them up there. They're in the middle of a little side pocket of the walk around of this big giant merry-go-round. And folks are just in groups enjoying the show, eating funnel cake at the end. They got like, if you know what funnel cake is, right? The powder on top and all the dessert mixings you could shove on it, especially ice cream. Happy kids, happy family, exhausted parents, right? Who've probably made a day of it. The last of the rides are going through their cycles. Everybody's in line to go one more time. And you can see all that from the parking lot, and that's the benefit of your predatory instincts and senses and thus power. This gun's not in your hand, but you're looking at the fence and you begin to understand something. Yes, you could walk up and just throw the gun over the fence at an odd spot, then make your way over there to get it. Sort of random. If you chuck that gun up over the fence and get there and you walk over and someone sees you over to pick it up, well, that's a problem. How'd you know it was over here? What's going on? What if you do that, nobody notices you, and now you're carrying a gun around? Do you have a way to conceal it? Do you have a way to, not make it noticeable? Do you even need the gun, seeing that this is the setup?
Probably not. It won't hurt him he's not going to have to rely on the gun itself, but if he at least has it indoors while he does the run, he at least knows that he has a backup for it. So at least he'll throw the gun over, but he's not going to go automatically to it. He'll take note of where it's actually at, and if he has to use that as retreat, he'll know where it should be. But he'll do his scouting ahead.
Go ahead and scout for me. You're scouting ahead. Let me rephrase that. Talk to me about how you're scouting ahead. Like, I don't know what you're scouting ahead for.
So essentially, my intention is after he throws it over, he's actually going to start looking for his targets. He's going to start looking for other vampires or using the information that was given to him by Rot and his other coterie mates to kind of put it together who his first interrogation target would be.
Well, that's the first amazing memory callback I like that you did, because we'll say even before you throw the gun over, you remember that you are at the grounds. You paid the $45 ticket to get in a ridiculous price just to be in for how little time's left. And they make you do an all-day pass because you can come back and use it tomorrow. Is their justification? You can care less. And you paid it and you're on. And maybe you would have thrown a gun over, but you had to come in and check to see where you're going to do that first, right? Spot's no dope. I might as well see if I'm going to hit someone in the back of the head, or if this is by the bathroom, where's it going to be? When you come over here, there's signs for security. There's a map you can grab to show you that it's like a whole 5-mile area. This is all spread out over. And then you see security, and there's signs that point across the lot, like not even where the grounds are, where everybody's going to be at. Apparently, security is where all these golf carts are, clear across the way about a quarter mile down on an open parking lot, and it's a shack. No play. They told you it was probably some building that was large and out and over there in the park itself. You're not certain what they were going on. You do remember them saying that, even pointing out, I believe, a picture of it that they took of it. Doesn't make sense, right? There is a security room that they advertise that you can go see it over by the hotel that's closest here, and there's instructions of where the address is and all that, relying on Google to find it. So it's either you need to talk to the security office, which is what that's the one by the hotel, or it's the security room, which is that shack down the way. Now, putting two and two together, and you're here and have an understanding of structure, why would you put a security office on the grounds in an amusement park? There's no freaking way. They have so many issues that a full-on security team would have to stop on the grounds 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
A stern worker telling you, hey, knock it off, don't go there, we have to throw you out, should be good enough. But the security office you do want close by enough to where a golf cart should be able to get them to where they got to go for what happens. And maybe you have a security guy walking the grounds at all times doing a shift, and you assume they do have that. But most importantly would be to cover and protect the assets unless the insurance needs on the property. I'm going to give that to Sullivan, i.e., where your camera equipment, server, and bullshit like that is probably in that shack. But we're talking about a shack. Imagine you have like 3 sheds put into one.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely, it's air conditioned. They have some IT set up in there of some degree, but let's admit it, IT stuff is not that hard to set up and take down. You don't need. It's almost you can set it up anywhere. You just have to have the right equipment, and that's a matter of money. You assume they have the money here on the lot and the grounds and how it's set up. And you can point out the fact, oh yeah, there's a golf cart marked security that's sitting out front of this guard shack or whatever this is. But it's up to you and how you want to play with it. You can talk to a worker. Those are the booths that you just bought a ticket from. You could wander the grounds and see what happens with the shotgun. What would you like to do?
He'd actually like to see if he could oh man, this isn't. Man, that security is going to be an issue. Talk to the security guy with hopes that he's going to need to blend in somehow.
Talk to the security guard. The hopes he needs to blend in somehow. Let's. I don't clearly understand that. Your hope is to talk to the security guy to make him feel like you belong.
Not only to make him feel I belong, but maybe I need an outfit and I need credentials.
All right, so that tells me you're going to want to take his outfit and take his credentials to walk the park.
Yep.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to pause you here a second to give you a chance. Do you recall what it is that they would have to have done when they came here, what they're looking to do?
We're looking to get the tape, but where it's actually located, which would probably be inside. Oh, man, that's inside of that room, isn't it?
There you go.
Yep.
So let's assume it is a tape. How archaic. And maybe that's what you're figuring out just now. I'll even give it to you. Right? Doesn't that seem odd, DJ?
It does.
What is the time? This guy's asking for a tape?
Yeah, he's asking for a solid copy of the tape. But that would imply that someone's actually videotaping it with an old school camcorder.
Now you got it. Now you got it. It is the angle of the shot that you recall, right? It was an exact picture of him doing what he had to do coming down a ride, but it is not the park grounds that took the photo. That would have made news. You know it would have. If they had access to their server, their cloud server, which is popular with everybody, it would have been all over the internet. Do you think a security guard who gets paid maybe 18 to 20 an hour would have cared so much about his job that he wouldn't put a very rich magnate mogul who's supposed to be dead, by the way? Why is this rich big dude who's a ghost going down a ride bucket naked, right, showing his twig and jables to the world?
Yep.
And nobody knows about it. It would be the worst kept secret of the park. You know that. That's welcome to the internet. However, that's not what was said. You were looking for a tape. You begin to realize something. But I need you to roll your, we'll say your intelligence, and we're going to have your politics. Unless you've done that magical thing. Let me double check. Some of you surprise me. Yeah, it's your intelligence, politics, and we'll give this to you because of the respect you have. And even the lore sheet you took. A 2-die bonus here.
Okay.
It's clan lore specific. In this regard, it's to the weakness of Ventrue. All right. This is a fun little quiz for you, DJ. What is the weakness of Clan Ventrue? It's not the blood, right? So this is an assumption many people make. What are they also weak to?
Pride.
I see where you're going. What we're going to do is we're going to rely on the successes. Sullivan absolutely gets it. Ventrue always embrace young blood, new blood infused into the clan because it's new advantages that the mortals have. They want to keep their pulse on what's getting better. However, remember the oddities of Queen Anne at her court?
No.
It is said that she wears a piece of armor on her outfits, right? She's not the only Ventrue to do this, that they have a hard time letting go of the time they're from. They're anachronistic. Immortality makes them stagnant. However, they do and are good in moving forward, but they still like to hang on to their traditions. They still like to represent noblesse oblige, like everyone has to. And thus it becomes a thing. But the youth of Clan Ventrue are expected to just hand wave it and cover up for it, understand this is the way of things. But you begin to understand Horatio Ballard now, especially now. He answered his own phone call instead of his servant. Why? He's impatient. He's desperate. He's worried. There was a time limit for this before, as he said, another tape would be demanded. And if he could just find where the tape is, then you wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. But that's like 80s thinking. Ain't no tape now, cuz. If you're caught, you on the internet, you blown. Everybody has you everywhere. You're into some like Born Identity shit, and good luck. Rent that trilogy and figure out how little a tape is going to help you. Right? That's kind of the point you're at. And you begin to understand that you're chasing after an old man's problem. Horatio Ballard has to be convinced that the tape's been handled. He has to be convinced that there is no tape at all. It is possible that this prank that you saw, that you were given, is all that exists, and it's in the hands of Horatio Ballard and has been the whole time. And whoever this is, all they've had to do was call and make a threat. Money's exchanged. No worries.
Son of a bitch.
You know, there's a side problem here too, and you'll realize this. Remember the threat that he would have to do this again, something worse. That's really where the problem is.
Exactly.
If he's not convinced what he has it, now this person will have him forever by the way technology is now, if he does something like that again. He was fooled once and forced to do it and had to obey the threat, or it would have been humiliation. Well, now it would be far more than humiliation. That's also a violation of the traditions. I mean, hell, it already is in his possession, but he's trying to cover it up. That's going to hold a lot of clout with him as a primogen, and they'll want the balls of whoever's doing it. But the problem is, if you can't find out who's doing it, well, you at least have to stop and protect the clan by convincing him to let it go, i.e., you're going to have to call this entity's bluff.
Right. Does Sullivan remember whether or not the images that were shown to him? Once again, I want to make sure that it's Horatio Ballard's words, not an actual thing, right? That this tape was an actual on a tape. This was actually like a clear video image versus
it was on a tablet, if you recall, that his retainer handed to you to see. They refused to give you a copy, right? It was you would get the tablet. Like, that's weird too. They believe it's actually stored on the. Whether you have the tablet or not, you can send me an email, Jack, with the link. You've already loaded it to your system. It's not a. Okay, all right.
Okay. Well, that's the case, and he doesn't have to put too much effort here. He just needs to find out who would want to do this and negotiate with him. Is there? There wouldn't be any politics that he would. Man, it might not even be. It just happens to be circumstance that the image was taken here. It's a question of who would want to videotape this poor big old man that is Ballard.
Who would want to make him do this skinny shuffle and figure out what's going on? Well, got to hand it to you. You have the investigation. You're here in the grounds. You can attempt some. We got an insight here you can do. We have just the good old whimsy of Sullivan's controller, i.e. yourself, to think of something else out of the box. What would you like to do?
Man, if it's a prank, I'd have to assume it's an anarch. I'd like to see if there's a vampire nearby that I could have a conversation with. It's got to be someone's, even if it's not a domain, someone's haunt.
So we're back at this odd thing, right? You know, there's a vampire in the Gurney Mills Mall. Technically,
Right.
it's near, but it's not on this lot at all, right? It's a good maybe 2 mile drive, like down there and back near the highway, and figure it out. And go in and hopefully you find them. Mall closes at 9 p.m. Right, and then it's your on grounds after the fact. Fun, and they have all sorts of eateries and whatnot that are near there that'll go open even after that because they catch the crowd as they leave Great America, right? Typically long lines leaving. You can see this from a mile off. It's a great mercantile trap for tourists. However, there's that, and you can try to wander around and find this child in the mall. However, remember, it did get violent, so much so that the Sabbat had a hard time dealing with it. You recall beating up security guards, but they avoided the vampire there like the plague and got the hell out of there because they certainly didn't deal with it and certainly didn't come home. And that's when you had the big bad Nosferatu and the indomitable Bruja go check this out. You do have a 30-06. I'm just going to keep reminding you of that. Strings with guns make people confident. But I'm going to back this up a little bit. You feel you need to talk to a vampire because why? You're not really vocalizing that for me to help you out.
Sure. So I'd like to close the loop if possible. I could call the bluff, and I will call the bluff as of right now just to get Ballard off my back, and sweet talk him into getting that out. But in the event that this other vampire or whoever had filmed it wants to leverage more, I want to get to him in the past and see if there's anything I could do to convince that entity to pause in its tracks, at least pay him off or her.
Well, the thing of this is that you physically came out to the place where the deed was done and figured out something simple, that it's been done. It was done with a recorded implement, and it was a tape apparently he originally got. And Ballard's servants put this to a digital capacity so they could easily have this one copy of it. And you assume, rightly so, that they're not going to have more than exactly what he said. That way he can have it when he needs to and know what's on, basically give it to you or someone like you to see it, to do something with it. I'm going to put this together for you. For whatever reason, you guys decided that you were going to hunt down and try to find out the physicality of it, and you figured out the big joke here. Whoever did this either knew they were humiliating you and you would never put two and two together. Like, he thinks it's a tape. You're coming out here looking for it, and it's digital. You probably had it the whole time. All right, now that you know that you have the copy of it, what good is it to come back to where it was recorded? There's virtually nothing that you're going to have because you know when, or how far back that was done. And what are the odds that entity stood around here and went, ha, it's me, and rolled all over everything, embraced people, and built a home here?
You're right.
Well, you're here, and look, there's no vampire home. Hi, we screwed Ballard clan that's hanging out here. Sullivan's able to break down the pieces as he puts this together. Okay, we know Ballard's scared about a tape. He's outdated. It's digital. He can delete it. That'll be enough to take care of that. It's also digital. Sullivan can now think of probably a dozen different ways you can pay firms or people to bastardize and fabricate and change the image of what even the original is, to the point to where that's pointless to even worry about. And that might be a solution, right? The other thing is that you keep thinking, what vampire stands to gain from doing this? And this is the most important thing. It's a vampire that stands to gain. I heard you said it must be an anarch. Must it? What does an anarch gain to humiliate a primogen?
Outside of sticking it to the man and showing that they can stick it to the man, it could be.
Do you think that's sticking it to the man, DJ?
I don't think so. Not from.
Right, I don't think so either. Getting them to do something humiliating, it's childish. It's pointless, where it's demeaning, and it definitely would piss off someone like Ballard or anyone. It's how. You can easily look at this as Sullivan and go, it's at an amusement park on and what is it? The American Eagle is what he had to be on. And they took it the whole time, and he used his blackmail that worked for a time. Right? How many times has this worked? And okay. But who's gaining for it? That's the number one question. And especially seeing you could stifle it now.
Yep.
So Sullivan wants. Go ahead.
I was about to say, if that's the case, then there's no point in having to worry about it. because he'll just spring a trap. The thought that Sullivan is having now is exactly that. It's a lot of effort that's being put into it. I just got to convince the old man that the situation is taken care of, not to take any bribes, to bring it up to him, and he will take care of it before it comes to a head. And at that point, that's when he'll actually take action, because there's no point in chasing after a ghost where he doesn't know where his real target is.
Okay. And finally, I'm going to give you, to put this all in a tight package of how Sullivan to do this approach. We're going to see how well it is off the bat. You're going to tell Ballard this. You're going to get a letter. You're going to call him immediately. How is your presentation of the facts rolling forward to help kind of close a chapter of this?
His presentation will be that he will call Ballard himself so that he could explain the situation to him and let him know that he has visited the grounds, he has taken care of the situation, and not to worry about answering to any of those threats anymore. It is on him to make sure that he cleans up Ballard's pristine image.
Okay. At this point, then, we won't make it a roll of insight to figure it out. You said the important thing I was looking for. It's to convince them that you handled it is everything. Mm-hmm. And you begin to realize something important here, DJ, or at least Sullivan will. It's all about you convincing your elder that you have the skill to be relied upon and the trust that he can rely on you to do bigger things. Did he not scream as much on the phone when you last talked to him?
This is true.
So do me a favor, roll charisma. And what we're going to go here, you are lying, but you lie very well. And here you're using persuasion straight up. And it's up to you if you're going to attempt to be so perfection as to even begin to use any form of leverage in-house or in clan.
He is. I believe. Do I have any? I don't even have any. Okay, I will. I believe I might be able to use. One moment. No. Yeah, he'll rely on the blood if at all possible. I believe if he's going to rely on his current fame, actually not even the fame would work. Status. Yeah, he'll use the status. There we go.
That's what I was waiting for. Yes, please include your status to this.
8. 2. Right.
All right. So you call Ballard, and as promised, you get him on the phone. He listens to you. He is meticulous. It's you went and what did you do? And you tell him, I went and checked it out. I went to the guard shack. They couldn't possibly stand up to my convincing words and ways. And I saw what they had. I saw what they was looking at. And the equipment they had these days, it's relying on a different system. However, that's to your advantage. A different system that doesn't take tapes. It's all done in these little devices, and it's done what they call digitally. And when he asks you, what's this digitally? What does that mean? And you explain it. You explain it exactly as if you were talking to an old man having to learn a system, right? And he's like, well, that's terrible. That means he could have it anywhere. And you correct them. Well, they could, but you're the one who had the one tape, and your people transferred it digitally, which means the one person who has it is you. You can hear him grin, right? Like you just gave him the biggest leverage everywhere. And he'll repeat to you, basically, so they're going to call, and they're going to threaten, and they're going to bluster. And I'm going to set up a drop. Well, this time their man's coming to pick it up. Only this time, I will have hired the right people to put them in the trunk and find out finally who did this to me. You've done me a service. This will do nicely. I knew to rely on you, and so I will back your story fully. The sheriff has reported it. Captain Jackson is not amused. He is, let's just say the prince is doing what princes do when they hear attacks of this nature have happened. He has to call a meeting. We will let you know the results. I'm certain you won't have to wait long. You will be credited, of course, as being the one to assist me in bringing this to light, as naturally it was my dutiful diligence that went down there to check on good old friend Critias, and I was distraught when I saw the state he was in, and naturally you were with me when we were there, and I allowed you to contact the sheriff as was your due, and accordingly the clan came together to rally behind the prince to stay ahead of it. This suits us well. In this regard, you are off the hook, as it said, and I acknowledge you now fully. being the asset you are. The Drosha will be informed that you are officially a member in good standing. We will honor your status. Your dignitas will be gained accordingly. This is good for you.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
Now, to that end, I have bad news for you. There is a meeting that is being called. This news doesn't do well for anyone, but there are sabers being rattled and stressful situations coming to light. You mentioned something, and accordingly, we have to follow through on those rumors. Officially, whatever you have with that liquor business, push it to the side. Return to your haven as normal. Be protected in the city's boundaries. Be careful where you feed. I would order Uber. A man of your judicious talents that can handle Great America's security should have no problem convincing some young student earning a wage that they have to enter your home, as nice as it is, to put their McDonald's on the table and then wake up a little woozy and leaving well fed. Trust me, if you have a preference for a certain type, you can enter it in that little app. They will bring you exactly who you want. I may have at one time or another put down I was a racist on purpose just to see and test if this was there. And lo and behold, a certain person did indeed pick up my order and bring it. I was very pleased, but then immediately bored.
Amazing, sir. Thank you. I will let you know how my encounter with Uber was.
Good man. He'll hang up. You've successfully accomplished a grand task. This is a 2xp to your character right now and ending that subplot that you signed up and doing and finally earning an agenda point in your favor for what you're trying to accomplish for a hot minute. That's up there. Is it a loose end? I'm going to give this to you. We still don't know who made the tape, but at the same time, you know that the tape ruins itself through time. And that's where it is. And it's enough for it to be put to bed for now. Maybe. If it comes up later, you'll figure it out. However, don't lose sight of the fact that, yes, you are aware that you can hire a firm to actually try to trace the coding to figure out what type of device, et cetera, et cetera. There is forensic research into things like recording equipment and things of that nature. Bob doesn't know, but you could read, look it up. It exists online. But why would you go through that length? It's already a breach to have the info, and I completely get why Sullivan would be like, accept a lie, big man. We're good. We're flying where it is, right? So that problem solved. Next on the agenda, though, we're going to advance 2 weeks. We know your son's in the enemy camp. At least he's not Sabat from what you heard. It sounds like he's an anarch. However, you do pick up on the fact that there is a priest that was thrown in there. He did mention it. Now you begin to wonder if he did it to fuck with you. Right? It could be he was playing on the lines of the fact that when you see somebody who's a therapist, priests are commonly having a psychology degree, and he was playing on that, saying like he was talking to someone to do it. Your son was dominantly Catholic, as was your wife. However, that doesn't mean that that's the case. However, he did have a lot of bad blood in the past you didn't even know about. But what does make sense to you, I don't want DJ to miss it, how you know he was embraced is because he's not under the gold thraldom effect. His death and rebirth means it's a new slate. That's what death does to a ghoul, and it breaks that bond. Although fondly you hoped he remembered you, you always planned it would be you that brought him over, and thus drinking that first blood would have been yours, as is proper with the Agoj, and that would reaffirm the feelings he had. Not being of your blood puts a different spin on the story. And so vengeance is something he might have. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, as it's said. Knowing that we can't do anything about that immediately, unless you think of something grand to do. We're going to bring you up to the game where you weren't there, just to get caught up. Okay. So in that period, what happens is, off the bat, you're called. Ballard, prophetic, is not kidding. There was a board meeting, and you are given an address that you have to go to. This address, though, unnerves you a bit. When you think of a venture board meeting, where do you expect to go to, DJ?
An actual boardroom.
Like, probably power chairs, a room that's all decked out.
Right.
Something along those lines?
Correct.
1 second. Let me. Pale. Sorry. You ever run across something, you're like, oh yeah, I did that. I should probably hang on. Boom. Okay. All's right in the world. Where you end up going is there's an address that is called the Halstead Packing House. You look this up just to be, where exactly am I going, right? But more importantly, you do politely excuse yourself from the coterie. This is not sent to you typical. It's not like it says, oh, hey, it's Ballard. We got to be somewhere. This is important. You literally get it from Alan Sovereign. It is coded. Not going to tell you the specific, city code that goes with it. But basically, they don't refer to you as venture. They don't even say it's a clan meeting. They say it's a meeting of the board of which you attend. And you've newly acquired a position. You need to be here promptly a half hour before this event is underway. And he puts down a Sovereign. And you're absolutely know who that is. This is from the Seneschal. And you don't need to be told that. You're aware of who it is. Your group starts off much like they always do. And I will remind you of something. There was suspicion about Warren. Strong suspicion you had last time. And some bad blood. But there's almost a relief in knowing that we can get back to this. That you may actually be going to an official clan meeting where you might be able to get some insight and some help into this incident with him as well. It's unfair that you were kind of saddled with this group of the Wild Bunch and told to make gold from straw.
Right.
They didn't give you a means to do it. You just took on the challenge like any young Turk would do, right? Trying to earn his millions. Regardless, when departing for this, would you do anything different? Now, the way we role-played it, because you weren't there, it was simply, I'm not saying no to this. I'll catch up with you guys afterward. I'll contact you. Is how it went.
No. Yeah, there's nothing he needs to share with the group.
Okay. Part 2 of this, did you have a chance to read in the room what went on? As in the latest news?
I believe I did. Just to quickly catch up. There's a blood hunt, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll give you a few seconds here to get caught up on it again. It starts with the news update.
Will do. For me, one moment to begin that one. Okay. Okay. And
I'm also informed by law to let you know, ignore any haunted sounds you may have heard during this recording.
haunted sounds.
I have cats that communicate in the dark to each other in very weird ways and then fight, so it's going to happen.
Okay. Okay. Caught up.
It's up to you. What I mean by that is with that information, are you doing anything beforehand, or are you just going to attend the meeting and see what is said?
Doesn't have access to, I don't even remember if I met Genghis or not. The only thing he would do at that point is he knows at least Slappy has connections to Cornelius, and he would be like, I need if anything, I need a meeting with Cornelius. We need to figure out how to get me to speak to them. If you can't handle the conversation, let me know so I could show up to this conversation and take care of that for you.
All right, so you would tell your coterie that you want to meet up with this guy?
Yes.
Okay. What can you do as DJ? It's something I would enjoy you doing more, and I'm trying to help you, teach you to do this a lot more.
Right.
You have some serious, powerful advantages for your character, but I think it's because you're in front of a camera that make you not focus on the sheet you have and more rely on you and your charm and wit to work through. And I'm trying to help you not do that. It's not that you're not a witty or charming guy, and definitely you got some solid chops or RP, But what we're looking for is, did I take things that can help do that for me that does not rely on me delegating? Now, why this is important, you are a linchpin for information as to how you built your character. And there are things you haven't even begun to flex with that you have that one can rely upon.
I would like to okay. If at all possible, then I will attempt to use, hopefully, that nice mortal or that retainer that was loaned out to me by Fiorenza. Maybe he has access to be able to set up a meeting on my behalf. Or
the possibility of this is that if you look at the nature of the message sent to you by Damien, that was sent that night that you're called to do a meeting.
Oh.
So how is it that you would willingly expect that you would be able to get a hold of this Cornelius immediately to have a meeting, considering the situation might involve him in some sort of volatile sense? Like, what is your take from what you read? What is going on?
My take from what I read is someone panicked. There's protests going on. She shot the wrong person, that of course being an officer, and that's going to cause a lot of stink. There is a smoke screen that was set up because someone just started instigating. And as of right now, we need to reach out to Genghis and or Anita, have an in to try to see if we could diffuse the situation by using them as a social lubricant.
Okay. Now, there is an order that was given off the bat. What does it say?
Not to get involved. And that the federals are handing them.
Not saying you're wrong to do it, but how do you want to do it? Right? It's just like telling an adult, hey, don't open that door, but you can do anything else. Right? Enjoy your stay. And then you leave. What's the first thing they do?
And then they open the door.
Exactly, right? It's the catch-22 creepy pasta of any situation like that. And you open the door and that's when things got really weird, right? However, I'm not going to look at this. You're kindred-minded. This might be an opportunity for you to prove, once again, ramp up on that success, what you want to do in any way you want. So you have Fiore's lent assistant that is supposed to be there to help you in any way possible you haven't really leaned on. And this might be such a time to do it. Could they arrange a meeting with this guy and find him? Easy enough, you imagine, especially for a capable individual with her connections or rumored connections. However, do you have something even easier? Like, what is it exactly you're wanting to do? Is it just a meeting? Is it do something else? And do you want to do this meeting before or after you have this this board meeting?
I want to see if I can have this done before the board meeting. Hopefully, he could bring the board good news regarding the situation.
So you're going to delay the Board of Chicago to have this meeting.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. Well, we're going to put this in effect, right? Send your guy out to get this meeting done and to arrange it. And the only thing I'm going to say is, while they're gone, and this will take time, what are you doing in the interim? You're going to rent somewhere out? You're going to have him meet at your haven? You're going to meet him downtown? What is your plan?
He'll meet him on he'll have him set it up on a neutral ground where they're able to speak comfortably without any issues and without.
I have no idea where that is. A neutral ground where you can speak comfortably. Is this an adversary you have, you think?
No, but I don't want to spook him out as well.
Maybe what I'm hearing from you is that you're planning for this to go bad. And so you want a neutral ground where it won't. Like, if it goes bad, they won't break the masquerade or go far to do it. But do you know who this guy is?
That he does not.
Okay, so that's one. Number two, if you don't know who he is, you don't know which side of the fence he represents or even what's going on. You know what you're told by Damien. What did Damien say?
That the federal are going to handle it.
No, about this guy, right? So if you look
outside
at this,
of he was a
right?
former Black Panther. Yeah, he's an idealist.
Okay. Former Black Panther, an idealist, and you're going to meet with them, and then what's a neutral place for that? And so I'm going to give you this, right? Sullivan doesn't. What I'm trying to help you here is to realize that, okay, if you know who you're meeting, you know how to set up a neutral place. If you don't know who you're meeting, you're just meeting them out of a hat. And I'll tell you what you're doing. You're like kingfisher hunting with a spear, and you're Queequeg right at the front of the helm of the boat. You're going to be the first to get this super fish. I'm going to, why, it's me who's taking care of it. Well, I don't have a problem with it. You don't necessarily get to plan the best situation for it as much as you're hoping this goes well. And you're pretty confident you can handle it. But handle it how? And so that's everything. I will tell you, sometimes a discussion is just a discussion. You want to just talk with this cat, or are you trying to make something seem reason? Because you know he's not Camarilla. You would know that.
He'll have a talk. He wants a gauge of this gentleman.
Okay. So not knowing who he is, as I've given you every chance to try to tell me, oh yeah, you're right, maybe some type of way. That's my hint. We've passed that. We're going to go with this meeting. You will get a message back as to where this guy hangs out. When you look at it, it's just simply called the Fortress. And what's weird is the place it has down here is that it's pretty much West Chicago. And what you don't like about it is that the place in and of itself, you can look up the demographics of the area and whatnot. It doesn't have shootings and a whole lot of violence there that's anything reported. The part that hits you is weird is that it's industrial. Like, it's a little industrial plot of land that has a couple businesses near each other, but that's not a neutral place. That's a place that could be isolated at night, that if this person has connections there. It's a warehouse district. It's weird, right? That's just Googling, looking up the address and going, I'm going where again? And going, man, it's jacked up. However, the servant, as not to keep them obligatory, just like last time, person's hella British, very upfront, and simply gives you this in a handwritten letter as he is taught. The phone call was to let you know he's en route, that he got the connections and sent you the address by phone. Brings up and hands you the letter where it just says exactly what this guy told him. And the handwriting's impeccable. But what it says is, faux show, bro. Right? Hits you as, all right. Willing to meet must be a good thing. And he wrote that, and he walks out of the room. This guy doesn't waste time telling you how it went, what he felt, if he was scared, if he was not scared. You do know his hair was disheveled, and his clothes are a bit rumpled, and his pockets torn. Which does mean that he probably went there, and they may have gotten physical with him. But you also get the impression this guy didn't go there. He didn't go there like, oh, I'm here on behalf of so-and-so. He probably went there, I'm here on behalf of my master, and he wishes too. And they smacked him around a bit. You know, did what you do to a guy who appears out of a hat to do that, because you don't know how he would know where this guy was or how he knew to go speak to him. But what you do know, with this handwritten letter, he spoke to him directly, which is pretty much a telling thing in and of itself. However, that's the deep effect of whom you serve, or I should rather say who you've earned the favor of and how she's been helping you as a patron. So that said, there's one more thing you have in your sheet, DJ, you haven't talked about. That's a special gift that you chose. It's an advantage for your character. I'd be remiss not to remind you of it. Please take a look. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you to look at Kindred Legacies. You let me know.
Right.
If you would like to use that.
I would totally like to use that.
Okay. Not just a loaded question. You're trying to figure out whether or not this guy has... What you should know about this guy and why you should know about this guy. Is that about the gist of it?
Right.
Okay. All you know about the history of him is a simple series of phone calls that you get to do. Now, this is through the connections of yourself. This isn't touching on Fiorenza's assets at all, so you're not ruffling those feathers. You, through contacts, talking to other venture in the know that you came up with, maybe even off of Ballard's network a little bit here, because it's kind of how it works. You know, a few people here, a few people there, a couple ghouls, a couple keepers, assistants, or what have you, and you spread out that info, which is kind of how this legacy works, and you're piecing it together. As far as your clan's perspective, this name Cornelius Furious Black is one that came up and absolutely did. The civil rights movement didn't miss Chicago, and there was race riots back in the day. This is something the city wants to ignore. They want to get past it deeply. And so folks don't want to talk about it too much, but they'll tell you two big names that were a problem. First and foremost was a person by the name of Carlisle. That's probably the scariest rep that they give you, but it's attached to this Cornelius guy. Mm-hmm. We'll spare the history. You can look this up if you like. They're pretty quick with it. Everyone knows the FBI tried killing the Black Panther movement, literally. They straight up tried killing people who were in the movement and doing away with them because the belief was they were terrorists. That's as they were positioned. They were rallying neighborhoods to go against their government, although they would say it was the white masters, right? The man was trying to hold them down, and they were willing to rely on violent means to do so. A terrible time. Funding wasn't being met. People were left to starve. Children were given food or public education or equal access. You left the people to figure out to go down swinging is what happened. Before cooler heads could prevail, this came to a violent head. How violent? Well, in the world of darkness, that violence is stuffed under a rug, but what you'll hear here is that there were key people that were simply out and out killed. The FBI relied on the mafia on the side, reduced sentences or out evidence walk away from if they were willing to take the hit of killing key people. From these murders, you had erupt gangs, is what happened. This is the sign of the times, right? So you imagine you have the government relying on the underworld element they don't like anyway, but we know we have leeway to help them out. Keep your enterprise. You guys can stay rich because at least you stay out of the limelight and you're out of the way. And if you had to ask black folk, they were white. And here's what you do. And so they gave him a chance. Sure, they went at him. They went at him and they weren't expecting it. And so you had the neighborhood erupt in what would be, what it seemed to be mafia gang-related violence. That's at least as the news knew it. In reality, you had feds who were just tipping off the right criminal scum to off up other criminal scum as far as they were concerned. And the number one threat that was the hardest to kill was this guy, Carlisle. He was terrible. It is said he armed women and children with guns, that he went and stole, flat out killed cops, like went and shot cops in the back of the head to take their gear. And when they took it, he would give outfits, handcuffs, and ammo and guns to people and told them, you see this gang wearing this badge, you go ahead and shoot them and don't ask questions because they're not going to wait for you. And spread this level of information. He took it to that height. And more than an arrest was put out for him. He didn't even deny murder charges he had and just didn't care. It was assumed he was going to be the type of person to burn out and die long before he saw a jail cell. And indeed, when he was arrested, folks breathed a sigh of relief. But when he got arrested, riots broke out. You had gangs decide to full-on assault police stations or make a way to do it, things of that nature. It was at an all-time high. Things got out of hand. The mafia showed the world a lesson, and this is what they're telling you. Because the venture did help fund it. They had to bring unrest down in the city. They had to help establish order. And they had a few key people they can invest money in to help out. Now, they're not taking credit for it, but they absolutely participated in quelling this to bring a sense of stability. What they did was they funded the mafia to hand out money and sit-down talks with the right gangs to bring their people down to calm them out. The one party that never agreed to it was the Black Panther Party, and they just arrested them and put them in jail. No questions asked, as many as they could. Enter Cornelius Furious Black. This guy comes out of nowhere during the late 60s preaching peace, that you're not going to be able to do what you're doing as a Black Panther to get it done. He goes public. He does a lot of talks about unity, human rights, civil rights, the whole nine. Why this is relevant to you is because you're looking at the fact that you just had something erupt on UIC. You were at UIC. You saw what was going on. And for Sullivan, he's clicking all this together. This really feels like the culmination of an old axe that was grinded a long time ago. The assumption being, you don't know enough of the pie, but hearing this rumor about the two and what's going on and maybe seeing a bigger picture of it, there's something here that's not you, but how your son got involved is that of a pawn involved in an anarch thing, and you're not certain what that is. However, does it dissuade you from when you go sit down with this meeting, or do we still wish to meet it and have it?
We still wish to meet and have it.
All right. So just to make this quick and to go along, the journey there is not scary. right? Like I said, it's an industrial park. They are not meeting you in an abandoned garage somewhere. It's not coming to this building where we could have dozens of people hiding. And I say they because it is Cornelius, and there's about 8 to 10 others that are around him. And these Bruja you've never seen, though Bruja you feel they are. They're standing around in their various styles. None of them seem to have the same thing. They're not wearing matching leather jackets or, I heart mom tattoos. But from the walks of life, you get some of them could have been a stockbroker. At least 2 of them seem to definitely have that motif. But they're out here with this guy talking business. Maybe you interrupted a clan meeting. You're not really certain what this ask. Or most likely, through the grapevine, they heard that someone wanted to meet up with them and it was you, but you're a Ventrue. And so the clan closed ranks. They agreed to meet with you in a spot. You're coming right to them. And as you're here getting out the vehicle to approach, you begin thinking they may assume that you're here on behalf of the prince for whatever reason. Cornelius, though, is standing in front of them, definitely showcasing that he's the guy out here who's the whole damn show. And this clan's doing something that you expect from Burha, but you never saw it. It's always a joke. Like, what are they, a huge gang clique themselves? And you realize right now, yes. Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
But when he stands up and he comes walking towards you, they stay back, He definitely makes a show of like, it's cool, I got it. And he'll just look at you with a smile. It's as if he didn't update his shit at all. It's still him. So you wanted to talk?
Yes, I did. Thank you so much for being able to meet up with me this evening. I know your time is important, Mr. Black. I've heard disturbing rumors, or rather, I've seen the news recently, and it's a shame. There's a lot that's already happening in the city as it is, and there's a lot on our weight that I feel has to get addressed. I know that you are of importance, and that you are of even bigger importance to a person who's close to me, Slappy. I believe you may or may not know him. And I wanted to have a conversation with you regarding the situation and see your insight regarding the matter.
I don't know, Slap. I don't even know why you bring him up.
I apologize, then my information must have been wrong.
I didn't say information was wrong, motherfucker. I said I don't know him. Now, what is it that you want? You gave me a liturgy mile about some nonsense, but you sent your dapperly do walking through the hood to come find me. He found me, nearly got his ass killed. They ran his pockets. They left him pretty much intact. But here we are. Now, you took a risk. We agreed. We're here. I'm here. You got our attention, at least from me and mine. I'd like to know what the hell it is you think you're walking into, because from where I'm standing, you know a goddamn thing.
And maybe that's the case, Mr. Black. I just want clarification. I just need to know if you'd be able to share with me that everything that's currently happening right now is just not, this is a mortal thing, and that's exactly what it is.
What am I sharing with you exactly?
But this is inspired by something more, something kindred led.
Let me understand something. Maybe I'm confused. You a deputy?
No, sir.
You a sheriff?
I am not.
And what the fuck makes you think you could come in here and ask me to explain to you a motherfucking thing?
I don't, sir. I'm just having a conversation. I just asked for your time.
You're not just having a conversation. You're walking in here, you're running your mouth, and you think you know some type of way. That's not just having a conversation. It's you trying to say that I'm not your equal. That you can get on your high horse, Ventrue, and come march down here and what? Demand something? Like we owe you information? I'm not telling you a goddamn thing. At this point, Sullivan, it's Bruja 101. We know how this works, right? We're at a hook at an all-time high where if you can't help the Incredible Hulk figure out the 1 + 1 = 2, and he's stuck in the equal part, he just has to say 2, and he can't get there, i.e., you can't give him the simple answer to his question. However, there's a point you didn't consider. What the fuck did make you think you can come down here and talk to him about something that wasn't your business? What was your goal and objective here?
His goal and objective is to, honestly, his goal and his objective is to do something right by Slap, and he's taking the opportunity to leverage the thing if he could save
All right,
someone important.
Let's stop here a second, because today's a little bit of interesting. First time I'm hearing it. It's you want to do something right by Slappy, right? What did Slappy tell you about him and Cornelius that made you think you can come down here and talk to Cornelius, just basically going over Slappy's head, and try to help him with his own personal situation? Let's think about that.
The only thing that he has to go off of is that evening at the Blue Velvet when they kind of fell apart, and he's trying to mend a tree for him.
Okay. So this is you extending that limb to say, hey, you're in trouble. I'm going to help you out, is what you're telling me?
Right.
Okay. How is anything you've said so far you helping him out?
Right. So that's what he wants to express. He wants to let him know, hey, you're showing up on the radar, and I want to help take you off the radar. I just want clarification. That's all. So I could take you off that radar or do my part to help you out, to help someone else out.
So you say that, and the first thing he does is he quickly slaps you. It is not pleasant. When he hits you, it's enough to make you take a knee, because that is the force. It's from high to low, and it was very quick. I do need to resolve composure or the requisite willpower. It is something that is rather embarrassing. But let's see how you weather that storm.
Yep. Yeah, I'll take that.
Well, you are trained better. It's just venture upbringing. Not everything is letting the beast have its day. Although you want to break this man's balls and kneecap right now. It's how dare he hit you right after you come offering help. However, it's when he slaps you, you do hear a chuckle and some sneers from people back there to see it. You're thinking of two things at this point as Sullivan. You're used to addressing a crowd. You're used to doing business deals. You're addressing this guy. He's in a position of strength, but he's also in front of people. He has something to lose. Right? So right now they back him. He's out here putting on a show to represent his side. It's just you on your side. And so he's reacting accordingly. But the one thing he said was to not waste his time and everything else. You brought up Slap. You had to like, you didn't know Slap. Okay, that's something to consider. And then you went in to say, hey, no, is there anything I can do to help you to blah, 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 do whatever, which is different than what you were saying before, right? Because before it was like, hey, you were trying to say something, but it was not clear before. It was like, hey, let me into what you got going on so I could tell you why it's wrong or why to stop it. Is right. The expression and feel that Sullivan gets he was giving at this point. Now, okay, excuse me, let's address this by the numbers. This guy is older than Sullivan. He's been involved in a lot of political shit. He's still involved in political shit. He's dead and he's still involved in it on both sides of the fence. That slap's almost like a wake-up call. What can Sullivan help this guy do? Not that you can't, but like, what is it you're going to start telling him you're going to do? What do you think he needs?
I'm going to tell him that I've heard about his reputation and that his reputation being able to speak in a fashion where he does promote peace in a way that doesn't require violence, that cooler heads can prevail, and that he's a philosopher in his own kind, and that surely whatever feathers are being ruffled, that is not the case.
All right. What you'll do here is you'll roll your charisma. We're going to do etiquette, right? We're going to smooth this over, right? This is what this is about. Your attempt here is to definitely get him to hear reason, and you did very smart. You're hitting him where hopefully he lives still. And said reason, assuming things haven't gone too bad. You have a suspicion there might have been a line crossed for him somewhere.
Would my specialty for saving face work?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of, sir.
Would I be able to spend willpower?
Certainly.
All
right.
The dice are not kind today.
With a total of 3, what happens is that you'll see him just he'll look up and goes, man, get up here. He'll help you up. I don't know what the hell is in what they feeding y'all, but this is the dumbest fucking thing I ever heard. You don't know that there's a war going on right now?
I've heard about it.
So you're not here to. You've heard. Wait, whoa! You heard about it? What you heard?
To clarify, I know that there's a war with the people, and by the people I mean the mortals. If I'm ignorant to the fact that this is happening on a kindred thing, I do apologize. But that's why I'm here to clarify that. I'm here to understand the situation because, as I mentioned, I care enough to make sure that cooler heads do prevail. I don't want this to spiral out of control because we know as kindred what happens.
Look, you're doing it again, right? You talking 10 sentences ahead, and I only asked you a simple question. What you know about some more? You said you know about Mortals War, and what you talking about?
The news that recently happened regarding Miss Hurst. That incident.
You think that's a war?
It's a very big powder keg shot there.
Let's understand what that is. Mortal-wise, it is what it is. You don't think a white woman has it in her to go ahead and shoot some cop who probably overstayed his hands and is welcome? You don't think that young woman had enough of whatever bullshit that dude did? Let me ask you a question. How the hell did she get a handgun to shoot that cop with? You ever think about that?
I could assume there are many ways.
Oh, so okay, so she looked like that woman in the paper. She looked like somebody who's strapped. She go to university strapped.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm saying maybe for her own protection, she took care of it. I mean,
I'm saying that's an excuse. That's your privilege talking, and that's your problem. That's how you see the world from your end, and that's what you don't understand. I'm telling you, if she went down there to give a protest just to speak her mind, she was hanging with her friends, and some fucking bullheaded cop came up to there and decided to stress her and harass her, probably talk some shit about how she on the wrong side, probably give her shit about her name being Karen, and that shit's cute and making fun of people named Karen now because there's some fucking some geek throughout, and now we're supposed to sweat people about it. Did you ever wonder that a society that says they want to be treated fairly gets to segregate themselves further with other fucking labels, make fun of each other, and think that's somehow going to make it better? That shit never help anybody. That's how that cop got shot. Shit escalate. Who knows? That cop saw a crowd. She was with the Hispanic guy. She was with the black guy, probably an Asian kid too. Who knows? It was like Cosmopolitan ice creams, that fucking pig, and she was sitting out there doing their thing. And he walked up to stress what? He in power, he in control, disperse, get the fuck out of here. But it's a college campus. They ain't got to go nowhere. They have more right to be here than he do. That's how I read that. And then what? Shit escalated. Now, we weren't there. We don't know what happened. It is possible this woman was some type of way crazy, some type of way off her rocker. But do you think that's true? I don't know. I wasn't there. I know this much, though. I went down there and talked to some kids. I spent time talking to them, just get the lay of the land to figure out what's going on. And why I went down there is because someone went and killed an important friend of mine. Word got out. So I went there pissed. Who I ran into pissed me off even further. And he gonna act like it don't matter that he was there. But you tell me what you know about Carlisle.
I've heard that when he was still breathing, he was quite the violent figure. And him being embraced didn't change any of that. Outside of dialing
your phone will ring.
Extreme. He'll take a look.
He'll look at its ballad.
He'll ignore Ballard for now.
All right. Carlo will just, Cornelius will just, yeah, I ran to Carlisle. He was there. He had some type of way and something to say. And, it didn't fit well. What he was preaching was violence on a level unprecedented. Now, he don't think what happened is accidental. Hell no. He thinks what happened was predicted. Now, he think the prince caused that. What you think? Did the prince cause that?
If I had to take my guess, does the name Riot mean anything?
So you do knew some name or something about it. I don't even fully know the full story, save that what I'm going to tell you is that Carlo got a habit of jumping the gun. He got a habit of deciding in his mind what it is that he's dealing with and then to go deal with it. I'm not going to say he's wrong. I'm definitely going to say he ain't right to do that type of thing any more than I would have been to beat you in front of everybody without hearing you talk. Now, you ignorant as fuck. You don't know a goddamn thing. What behind the ears doesn't begin to describe you. I could hear oceans and seagulls over by your ass. But the point is, when we get down to the heart of the matter, you in the right place. Shit feels south, you coming to figure out what direction you need to be in. That's not Carlisle. Man, that nigga knew what he wanted to do and how to do it. And he was there to execute it. I asked him a question. I said, did you kill him? And he nearly tried to take my head off. Between you and me, it's real personal between him and me. I came through what he came through, and I chose peace. You're not going to reach people to see a point of view if you put everyone in the ground whose mind you're changing. You dig?
I do.
He don't. He don't. To be fair, though, that's because that's what happens when your government try to kill you. When you can't trust the man holding the badge to do his job to serve and protect your ass, and then later on, the feds who were supposed to stand up and have your back, they went and killed some friends of yours. That's what happened. That wasn't even like they might have done it. You could even look in history books. Kids talk about that. Like, look how corrupt the government is. Look what they fucking got away with. Got away with is the key. To the victor go to spoils. That's what happened. But he immortal. He don't have to take it like, well, that's that. That isn't fucking that. Now, one better. That's old hat in history. Who do you think he gonna blame for a lot of it?
I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being the tower he blames for this.
In some capacity. So you mentioned riot. I'm not shocked. That's anarch bullshit, man. Something happening. All I'm going to tell you this is that the whole word on the street is that there have been elders disappearing and people going for long walks and trips to go east. Some dusty ass war or fight going on, and the Sabata tore off to go after it in some hell of a crusade. And that's what everyone always want to talk about and scare people and get that going. But I ain't see it. As far as I know, Chicago didn't change that much. Yeah, if some motherfucker went to sleep, how do we know they ain't just torpor, right? And we don't know nothing about it. But I do know this much, man. I'm paying attention to that mortal life. That mortal life important. When people say someone's woke, they're ignorant. Ain't no woke. What it is, they're telling you how it is, and they're refusing to listen to your bullshit ass rebuttal about how it isn't going to fly. They're telling you how it is. You're trying to tell them how it should be. Right? That shit's reversed. They're telling you reality is this. There will be equality. We will not tolerate bullshit, and we will not take anything but what we say right now. What you gonna do? And you're gonna fire back with all your woke. That's fake news. We're gonna get your face split. Or you're going to get canceled. We're going to shut your shit down. We ain't going to buy your shit. We're going to shed light on your shit. We're going to watch your stuff get shut down. I'm proud to be around in these times because of that. We was working our ass off to see that, realizing I get to see it. It's happening right now. It's a human movement. I can get behind that. Not that Carlisle ain't going to see it that way. Why? Because where was that human movement when he needed it? So you want to know a war? Yeah, it is. It's a political one. It's a war with the heart. It's a war of revenge. It's a war that's happening between mortals. And the problem is, I got one old ass leech you can't figure out that you need to adapt or just get away. Carlisle leave is what he need to do. And he gonna battle it. He gonna battle it to the hilt. And he don't gotta leave. That's as far as I know. And then he told me to step off, so I did. Because we on a college campus and there was already a cop who got shot. Some shit spilled out of hand. What else you want to do? That's what happened at your story. You came all the way out here to have a meeting to hear that firsthand, better than the news.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's all I needed to hear. I just,
before you say another thing, and I said that, you still ain't getting it. What the fuck make you think you can call me up, bring me out here, hear all that, and then I'm just here to benefit you and I get nothing for it?
It's not without benefit. I want to make sure that I'll make sure your name's clear, that's all.
You'll make sure you ain't no sheriff. For the fuck you gonna clear my name?
I can at least say I had the conversation.
You
And,
can at least tell me who killed Critias. You think I don't think that's odd? Why the hell the Venture clan going to send some asshole out here to talk to my ass, other than to know that I'm at least the Bruja who's willing to talk to you?
Right. So,
all right then. If I'm right, then what is it? What's the info?
Riot killed Critias. Riot's on an unholy mission and has started brainwashing. I take that back. I apologize. This is also personal to me. Riot has started to recruit waves, mass embracing. She took down Critias that way for equality, to wash away and clear the table. I got it from a trusted source.
You got it from a trusted source at Riot on the Revolutionary Council, needing to embrace a whole bunch of people to jump Critias and do him in. And that Critias just sat his old ass in a chair and let it happen?
He went down soon. I saw it.
Cool. That's your story. That's all right. I got my info, you got your info. I appreciate it. You need anything else?
No, I thank you for your time.
You sure I could fetch you slippers?
No, unnecessary.
Seriously, you validate your parking?
No, thank you.
All right, then. You take care, sir. You have a nice night, sir.
You too. But she'll feel awkward, but he'll
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. It was just that's exactly how Sully would feel. It's very awkward for him, and he'll head off.
He'll head off, and you'll hear one guy say to him clear, "That's bullshit. Right and kill a get the fuck out of here. Why would she?" And you start hearing what you expect to happen. Man, what sense does it make, right? And that's what the whole thing is that you'll hear them erupt into. Which obviously, I'm assuming you're not going to be foolish enough to stand by and go, hey,
no, that's
right. Is there?
Yeah. Nope.
What? Where to from here?
It's head off to the meeting.
Okay. The meeting, the meat packing plant, as you're called to have it, as I will remind you of Exhibit A, as we'll bring this up again. It's a nice, lovely picture. You pull up into the lot and you'll see outside there is a lookout. There's a guy who looks like most likely he works there. Has an apron on, has the hat on that says "We love meat." Looks like it has a pig's face on it, very characteristic, right? Smiling, like it's a Porky Pig's mascot, right? However, you know what this place is. You could smell it from here. The smell of death. I hate to say it. It's not the smell of death. Let me dispel that. It is blood. You know what blood smells like. It does make one hungry. It is the smell of uncooked pig and other animal flesh. It has a tang to it, a twinge to the nose that you don't ever quite forget. But it's unmistakable to you. But you also smell spices. You smell salt. There's some sort of pepper, heavy pepper scent in the air and whatnot. But you also hear that it's dead quiet as you approach the door. The guy at the door will simply look to you and he'll hold his hand up for a moment and he'll open the door and he'll simply say, Mr. Sullivan has shown up. And he'll say it doesn't match the words, right? It is not an accent, it's the accent of one, but it is the diction. Definitely announces it. Doesn't look like the blue collar worker you thought you were getting. Doesn't match what he looks like. And what you will hear calmly is a very powerful voice that'll come from that room that you have never heard before. Will simply say, "He may enter." And the guy will look at you. He'll step to the side and just gesture with his hand open. He'll move to the side and say, "Get your ass in there." It's more or less what he's doing.
He'll clear his throat and proceed in.
Now, for your courageous efforts, you will see the first sight that is what you expected. This place is up top, has been cleaned, things washed down, but however, someone decided to do a little pageantry here. There is rows of meat that are on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side, but it's what's in the middle. There is a table that's been set up, and you can tell it is a plastic. Out of nowhere, we could set up a table for people to sit around with fold-out chairs that you have, save for one person at the far end who has still a fold-out chair. But this person looks like they've seen better days. The one who you unmistakably know told you may enter. They look rough. Someone did something to them, and maybe you're supposed to owe them some sort of an apology for it. You're not certain. But this person is intently staring across the table at the door at you. Ballard looks at you like you're a piece of shit. It is unmistakable. He called you, something went on, you stiffed him, and this dude's beady black eyes settle on you with a level of, you really don't want to be here alone at the end of the meeting, right? It's that simple. What offsets the look of this guy, the first one, is that who's standing by him is of an ethereal beauty. It is someone who looks like they have managed the trick of a timeless beauty with thus immortality, gifted on a brunette, and still kept this lighthearted youthfulness to her. But she seems shocked that you showed up initially, and has a steadying hand on the shoulder of the first individual, right? What I mean by this is, imagine you went in a room and it's a meeting interrupted. By your arrival, you should have been here. We've all experienced this if you've ever been late to a meeting at work and just conversation dulls for a second. But then he fixes his blue eyes on you, and you really wish you were never late in the first place. When Ballard stares at you, it doesn't get any better. But it seems that she's either in your corner or is very, very concerned with the temperament of the individual she's by. She has a hand in the middle of his back and a hand on his shoulder, and she whispers something to him, and he stops staring at you with his ice blue eyes and looks at her with a smile and just pats her hand to reassure her that he's okay. And he returns to looking at you. Very appropriate. They could be a ma and pa kettle, but clearly you know something. They're intimate at some point. They fucking know each other on a level that is not just mere clanisms. However, the whole gang's here. You see Alan Sovereign. You do also see that there is a very odd character. So I'm going to just slam these down here for you to note. Alan Sovereign. He has terms and names. Does things with his hands. And not to be forgotten here, although he needs help to be in his chair. Well, this guy you haven't seen anywhere, but you've heard about him. Last you checked, didn't Kevin Jackson want his head on a plate? That's Bobby Weatherbottom. And you last heard that was the fate. You know, the prince wanted him gone. You don't see the prince here, first and foremost, and that's a shock to you. However, you do see good old mentor of yours, named Mala, if you will. However, there is a stake shoved through his chest. It's succinct, like somebody was like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" and slammed it through his heart and had him just slumped in the chair. It seems like he was dragged maybe in here and across the floor because his suit's jacked up, bit stained, little. You could smell a bit of the room on him. Let's just put it that way. And he's slumped in a chair like he's, you know what I mean?
Oh.
Like he's poured into it. And that's that. And he's closest to the original guy. And what you'll hear is the guy at the head of the table will, Mr. Sovereign, please tell me who this would-be kin is. And Sovereign will stand clearing his voice. And he said, well, this would be the quester. The quester of... He'll look back and forth between Ballard and, of course, you. He says, Horatio Ballard is the ideal of finance and a primogen of the clan, and his quester would be, well, as he announced to us, this is Mr. Sullivan. And so you'll hear at the head of the table, more or less, he'll clear his throat. We have not officially met. And so I will consider this to be a disgrace that you alone bear. It is clear your gauge did not take, and you feel that it is wise to keep Clan Venture waiting on two accounts. The first was when a lictor instructed you to show up to a meeting, and you chose to flaunt that meeting as well. Do you deny it, Mr. Sullivan?
I do not, my lord.
And as a recourse, I ensured that a group of anarchs has your coterie staked and beaten to near death, awaiting a decision in the outcome of this meeting. It is no doubt they are confused. It is no doubt they will think that it was something that happened out of the blue. Nothing happens out of the blue, Mr. Sullivan. I would posit to the Jerosha here, the board, if you will, Mr. Sullivan, as I don't expect you to even get the remotest of our internal titles, seeing as you cannot even respect time itself. You don't respect your elders, and you don't respect the venture in this room in a combined capacity. You somehow think you're above us. I assure you, you are not above me, if nothing else. I am Prince Loden. I am Prince Loden of Clan Venture. I sit at the head of this board, not behind it. I am assuming you don't need an explanation as to whom I am.
I do not, my lord.
My current condition is a condition I embrace. This is hubris. This is what you are, Mr. Sullivan. You're a reflection of my hubris when I sat as prince. And you understand that my children are the only reason I survived. Loyalty is absolute. You sit in a room, well, stand. Someone get him a chair, and you'll hear this term, and Weatherbottom will get up and be like, yeah, sure. He'll get up and start looking around like office, and he'll head over. This council sits as something to remind us all of something immediate, Mr. Sullivan. I want you to understand. It is succor. It's the term our clan uses when one of our own falters, stumbles, needs assistance, that they look bad. It's probably a term you'll understand. There's a certain face we have to keep, and your dignitas is the representation of your position in the clan at all times. Dignitas means how you carry noblesse oblige, how you hold yourself in the domain that you have your title and station where you earned it. Your lineage means everything based on this. And accordingly, you have failed. You have categorically failed. On every mark that any venture has ever stood on, you have failed. You have failed to keep so much as a schedule. You have failed to see the urgency of the clan needs you. And in your failure, you do have something you wish to tell me in rebuttal at all that could either answer for your failing or reveal that your blood was not wasted on you.
I do, my lord. I was doing due reconnaissance to get as much information as possible so as to advance our position, the clan's position, as it were. I met with the anarch known as Cornelius Furious Black.
He'll raise his hand. He'll look to Ballard. I fear you're correct. Ballard will clear his voice. If I may, sire, you may address me accordingly, Ballard. This person who calls himself Venture at this point, and Ballard will stand up, has made a grave error. He has assumed that we are incapable of doing anything without his decision to move forward and his choice to seek to make waves and maneuvering that could benefit himself at all times. Himself. He does not consult people in his clan. He does not wait to see what might be going on. He doesn't check in with anyone. What he does is he chooses to make opportunity. But I would suggest that this has more to do with, and he'll tap Neely on the shoulder, who has chosen to grant him the upbringing than anything else. He doesn't know his place. Ballard will turn on you, and this time, his size, not sitting, is horrible, as you are basically nose to belly, as he just stares down at you, right? As Weatherbottom Dunn got you this chair. You think that because I don't lay a hand on you, that you can what exactly? Sit here and state to this board that you did anything to help Clan Venture at all by your violation of the masquerade that you had a hand in Millennium Park. You didn't think, and therefore didn't rein in those who looked to you for guidance, and you made a stupid decision. It is not a foolish one, nor was it done in ignorance. It was simply stupid. You assaulted something that would guarantee to draw attention, and worse. You tried to hide it from the clan. You lied to the face of the lictor, as if you didn't know what that title was. Yet I assure you, you passed your gauge. You were informed of what these titles were in clan. And you embarrassed yourself. You welcomed an investigation into you, and thus the rest of you. And what they have found is that you tried to manipulate, sloppily I might add, the police on scene to where we had to step in and intervene and correct that which they thought they saw, to our advantage. But you did it to save your own skin. You didn't wait. And then you didn't go to that meeting where you would have met Sakor, where they could have taken care of it. Even then, our clan has the capacity to put a lid on things, and you denied us that access and that ability. What you succeeded in doing is guaranteeing your demise. Perhaps not now, and I am ahead of it, but at this time, if it suits the board, I vote as Primogen as a deal of finance that this man be executed post-haste. We do not stay the prince's judgment. He bears the full weight of his decisions, and he dies accordingly with that damnable coterie. And the rest of them, they'll begin knocking on the table, much like you would probably see the scene in Parliament. Rather than make any more noise than shouts, it's just not them. And he'll sit down, confident that what he said is every bit as what they wanted to hear. You will hear Loden. He'll just simply look at you. You do have an opportunity to rebuff what it is he has stated. Do choose your words carefully.
My actions were indeed foolish, however, they were influenced by lupines of which we know are to be true.
Just wanted to pause here. What I'm seeing is a player go, yeah, shit. Fuck, that's kind of good. From your side, I did do those things. I'm watching in your face, right? I did lie, and it got me out of it. And I didn't think of what fucking lupines, bro. What do you know of it, right? Like, where were you there? Did you get them in the park too? I didn't see you handle them. And I'm sitting here going, okay, perhaps maybe Sullivan has a better skill set designed for this than yourself. Would you agree?
I would 1,000% agree.
I would say let's rely on a combo of both. It's not that your delivery is wrong. We know you want to go with seems like you want to give them the full truth of what occurred. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. How much of the truth? Let's discuss this out of game and rely on the die roll to help you in this scenario,
Sure.
Which is only fair.
If he could shift it to put the weight on those external factors that do exist, much like the lupines, like those damnable lupines were there, we could prove that it's true. And if he could shift their attention, if he could shift the attention to being like, these bad guys exist, I'm not the worst of a situation. Like, it's real. We've seen it. We've dealt with it. It's a thing.
What's going on is bad, but what about the yellow cake? Nobody addressed it. What? All right.
Right.
We're using the yellow cake argument is what I'm hearing. It's going to take a to-do, right? So we're going to say, we'll call this the Hail Mary, right? You're really hoping the full weight of what they got going on matters and we could do something about it. However, first I need you to take one aggravated willpower damage. No choice.
We'll
the embarrassment from being late under your own hands. Let's tally that forward. Mixed with what is thrown at you and who was here and who is supposed to be dead. This is a lot for Sullivan to take into, and it's rather jarring. So we're just going to put that there off the bat. However, that being said, we still have an opportunity to roll that fantastic charisma that you're known for. And here we're trying to say etiquette, would you say?
Okay. I would like to rouse the blood as for his charisma and not for presence, because he knows that'll probably be a death roll.
I'm giving you the option here. It's either you're trying to use etiquette to save face, like, yeah, all that's happened, and I'm not going to say it's not true, but I'm going to try to spin it in a light of, you understand why, that helps me, that's kind of saving face. You're hoping for leniency.
Yes.
Persuasion says, I'm trying to make it to where let's shift all that off of me. What could I do? Because we were dealing with lupines, right? You're painting the lupines as the ultimate enemy. We're going to go with the argument, but what about the lupines? They're tearing us apart. They're killing us. And we want to go in that direction. The final one is subterfuge, where you want to attempt to use what Ballard said to work against him, to accuse you of failure and in tricking the lictor and lying to the lictor. But that's only one way to look at that situation. Now you have your version. He has the truth, as one might say. Somewhere in the middle, you're trying to muddy those waters to convince. Now, of that, You have the skills to know you're in front of quite possibly the most powerful grouping of individuals who are masters at what you think. This is where you're not to advantage. You're the new guy. They've kind of invented the game of backpedaling, standing up, and unifying against all threats. And currently, they're trying to suss you out as to where you're at, but at least you're still alive for now.
Right.
Which path would you like to take? We'll shorten it. I am agreeing with them. I want to lessen because I have reasons. You're reasoning with them. That's what etiquette is. I want to basically get them focused on another target, and we're going to say it's the lupines. Or what I'm trying to do is really defame Ballard. You son of a bitch, you're coming after me. I'll take you with me. And i.e., you're trying to make it to where you're not the only bad guy here and start, basically, you're stirring shit. You're
the shit stirring? You know what? Yeah. Fuck it. Shit stirring it is. Fuck you, Ballard.
Okay. If that's the path you wish to take, best of luck to you, sir. At this point, you were rolling your charisma, your subterfuge, and I would include your status. However, I'm going to dock you 3 dice. It's 2 for 1. You're standing against your own primogen. 2, you're doing this in front of the Ventrue board where you were raised to have unity. Then the 3rd dice is, okay, you're standing against the primogen you just helped and earned favor and face with who took you as some special title, which apparently DJ still doesn't know what that means to be a quester on his behalf. That being the case, you're in the dark about something, and that's accordingly being weighed in with this decision. So please, it's your charisma. Once again, you're going to roll your subterfuge as you're standing, but then you're taking away 3 dice.
Got it. And I would like to, like I said, rouse on charisma if possible.
You got
it. Hunger 3. This was going to turn interesting. 1 second. All right, so 6, 9, 10, so okay. I'm so sorry, hunger.
All right. You yourself can take that as is, or do you want to use willpower or leave it where it is? What do you want to do?
I would like to use 1 more willpower, and that'll get me very close. Dice are not kind today.
All right. You basically have the only angle you can go with, and you bring up the fact that while you were being blackmailed, I didn't have time to go and deal with everything I had. So we got involved. You go with the blackmail angle. We had to go out to Germany and take care of a problem. Come to realize it's because you don't know how to work technology and don't have any clue as to what the difference between a tape and using cloud services is. So you were never even being blackmailed, and that's what you had going on. And that's why. So while I'm dealing with that, I have to go catch up with the coterie, which is Sabat. You left me hanging with them after coming out of Critias' training that Critias passed them for. And let's not overlook that. But you're a primogen. You didn't do anything about it when you met with them, and you knew what pressure I was under. So while I'm dealing with this, I'm expected to take everything on the chin like it's my fault. Where is the leniency here? And more or less go with that confident spin of maybe some truth. And Ballard will grin, which probably is not what you wanted. And you will hear that there is a chuckle from Weatherbottom when Ballard grins. And you'll hear Weatherbottom. It was a good try. I mean, it was. And you'll hear Loden. Mr. Weatherbottom, did you have something to say? No, sir. He'll look down like He says, Primogen Ballard, you stand accused as a deal of finance of saddling him unfairly with a task that he had to do to prove his worth to you for the title you wish to bestow upon him. What do you have to say, if anything? Ballard will stand up. My liege, I think this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was mistaken. I had thought that he could pass this challenge and gave him something that he could handle that would prove his wit, his intellect, and within his means. It would be easy for him to gain ahead for doing this, and in recourse, what he has done is fail, as you have said. And he has proven that he is not worth being out of his agauge, let alone having the title of quester. And I withdraw my petition and statement. My dignitas be smirched accordingly, as you see fit. And he'll sit down, and you'll see Loden look around. All who vote that he should be removed from quester, please do so now. Now, Weatherbottom doesn't raise his hand. but everybody else does. And you'll see Loden nod. He'll rap the table with his knuckles once. Let it be shown that he is no longer considered out of an gauge, but this presents us with a problem. Does anybody here support this venture in his time of need? It is not ours to simply barbarically kill someone who's messed up in these regards. I do use messed up to understand it clearly, Mr. Weatherbottom. You do understand that. And you'll see Weatherbottom nod his head like that was the weirdest thing to have said. And go, therefore, I give the tutelage, the gauge that you will be under, Mr. Sullivan, will fall to Ballard himself. It is under Ballard that you will work and do whatever he says as he says it to relearn the value of noblesse oblige in the halls of the Ventru clan. You will learn what it is to serve. You will learn what duty means. You will learn what being on time means. You will learn to do as you are told so that you are better prepared to lead and tell others to do as they must. We do not lead because we want to. We lead because it is our right to do so. By right, we alone are saddled with this burden, since it has always been. Do you have anything to say to this, Mr. Sullivan?
He'll shake his head.
You do have the option at this time to declare yourself an anarch to me, and I will take it as if you said it to the prince.
He'll shake his head.
Well done. He will maintain his dignitas earned accordingly for at least understanding when he is beaten. To other business. We were in the middle of discussing the fate of one Prince Kevin Jackson. To bring you up to speed, as you should be informed nonetheless of Gauge aside, the situation requires the whole clan, the whole board, to truly make a choice. Before I push this further up the chain to the euphoric, to understand our decision as the Board of Chicago, it is to understand that Kevin Jackson's had one task here the entire time. I have granted him permission to sit as prince, which is why he was backed by Ballard and Sovereign. This would not have happened otherwise. Kevin Jackson is little more than someone who controlled the soldiers we needed in a time we thought we would have to wage war. That time came and it went. And Kevin Jackson played accordingly, played it safe. My gamble was childish to admit openly, and that woman again will squeeze his shoulder a little bit, and he'll pat her hand. That is hard for me to admit, but I paid nearly with my life. I had spent months, years really, hiding in the sewers at the request of a good friend. Permagin Khalid had granted me my own domicile, an abandoned place, forgotten in Chicago, where I will maintain its anonymity on their behalf. There, my wounds healed slowly, my pride even slower. But I received updates. When the Lasombra announced they were leaving the Sabbat, that quickened my blood. We always knew the Lasombra were not fit for the Sabbat. And what we mean by not fit, too pragmatic. You would have to understand that they were terrifying to behold back in the day. I am not so old as to remember them in the true of our once powerful rivals and what they were capable of. The fact that they would saddle themselves with dealing with the most violent always seemed ludicrous. To get to the point, them being part of the Camarilla was the jewel that I tasked Kevin Jackson with doing first and foremost. If he can get them to agree to the terms of joining the Camarilla, then what happens here in the city of Chicago is great, but the benefits to our clan are greater still. As diplomats to all clans would be immense, and Kevin Jackson, the jewel of them all, he would be called in most. Would have been an honor to the lineage. However, unbeknownst to myself, Kevin Jackson chose to wage a war with an entity named Carlisle. This is something I was not aware of, not until this night. Apparently, Carlisle has a brother who's been missing, presumed dead, and has come to light because of an errant rumor that a leader of the Bloods was coming back to the city of Chicago, that this leader disappeared about the better part of 18 years ago and was forced to go down south to flee charges from the police. That's where he went. So it turns out this is the same brother that was Carlisle's brother, first and foremost. Again, affiliated Black Panther that somehow was immune to aging. I believe the phrase "black don't crack" was uttered as the excuse as to why. Wisely, Kevin Jackson sought to remove him from the limelight as he would be about 40 or 50, and he still looks like he's 19 to 20. Removing him down south made sense, and by down south, we mean South America, damn near to the other side of the world from where we were. Now, the simple fact is that that removal was known and it got found out, and we can only assume that Carlisle heard his brother wasn't dead. But worse, what do you think that Bruja Anarch did when he heard that his long-lost older brother was enslaved to the blood to Kevin Jackson? It is a question you can answer, Mr. Sullivan. I've heard everyone else. I would hear what your thoughts are.
I believe this would be his opportunity to lash out at Prince Jackson.
When I sat as Prince, I dealt with Carlisle on several occasions. He was the fly in the ointment. He was the anarch that wouldn't bend. He was the anarch that wouldn't see reason. At any given chance, he warred with Balthazar, often beating Balthazar severely, nearly destroying him, but always knowing the line. He would take out deputies, but always leave them at least within the realm of decent, but frustrating nonetheless. Definitely challenged my ability to protect kindred. And accordingly, I never blood hunted him, not once. He didn't violate the traditions by doing what he did. However, I know in him crossing that line, assaulting his family, enslaving them. I don't have to tell you the importance of slavery to a black man. And can you imagine the fury when one did it to his own? Every bit, I am not shocked at the issue that we're in now. But even further than that issue is the fact that Kevin Jackson didn't stop there. His full intention revealed, it was to bring that man back to officially wage war openly again, to bring the hood, I guess as he sees it, under heel for one reason. He plans on using troops to, I don't know if evidence was true, but that thing, as we'll point at Neely, is a Sabbat member. Now, to the meeting accordingly, I would point out his part in this. Mr. Sullivan, your group met at the Blue Velvet. Do you recall this?
Yes, sir. Yes, my lord.
Do you also recall that two people in your group sat down at a table with a benefactor of that club?
I do.
According to her, she read the emotions of the room, as she calls it, and she acknowledged the fact that two of yours were still Sabbat loyalists, despite what they had seen. Do you deny this?
I do.
You deny it. I will ask this one more time, perhaps adding a bit of the puzzle to you. This thing admits that he told them that he was hiding for the Sabbat and now was the time. Did they tell you that he openly admitted that he was Sabbat, your mentor?
They did.
He'll look and he'll pause for a second, and as if he's trying to struggle holding something back. You don't feel anything in the room, nothing shakes, nothing dramatic like that. But when you noticeably see Ballard stand and move back away from the table, and others kind of follow suit, you're not certain what's going to happen. Loden really waves his hand as he picks his head back up. Please be seated. I fail to understand you, Mr. Sullivan.
I chose not to believe them, my lord, if only because I felt...
I want you to be quiet and hear this. You dare speak out against this primogen. You dare insult him. You dare deny the things you've done. And you're going to sit here and tell me that you were aware that they said that he was Sabbat and you would not have informed your clan. Your life is forfeit. You are dead. You will die tonight. You will not leave this room alive. I will see you hung up on a hook. I will watch you disintegrate in the sun. I will have it recorded. I will watch this repeatedly to get your stain out of my thoughts, to have you utterly eradicated. What do you have to say for yourself other than that is your just due for negligence, for failure to support the clan, for bringing the viper to our neck, to allowing it to poison us? This man tried to have you meet with your other two Sabbat flunkies to have me destroyed at that meeting the lictor demanded that you show up to.
This man was my mullah, and I had trusted him, and I had felt that he was testing my members to see whether or not they would fall true to it. I had no reason at the time to believe that he was lying to me, as he had instructed me prior to the situation and had not led me astray. For me to believe that these two flunkies, that these people that I was attempting to raise, were but merely being tested is what caused me to believe that this duress was only but a farce. That is my failing.
I like how you put that. This is going to be hard. This is for your life, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please raise your charisma, your etiquette. I'm going to give you a bonus 2 dice. You did the wisest thing ever you could to somebody angry and certain that you pretty much proclaimed how you were going to die. The simple fact is you admit that it was your failing. However, you also admit that you trusted who brought you in the clan, and you accept your fate accordingly.
What was I rolling again, if I may?
So it's your charisma and your etiquette. You're getting plus 2 dice. Mainly for hitting the right strings to get some, well, actually the theme of this meeting, it seems. Loyalty and duty. And maybe keeping a time. Just saying.
I know. All right.
All right. That's, you were loved. Normally, it's not fun to keep it down to a dice roll for if a player lives or die. I beg to differ. Look at your face to understand what it is.
No, right.
If you narrated it, what would that have been, right? So effectively, you'll see him pause and see you do what you do. And what you'll see is Alan Sovereign raise a hand. And you'll simply hear Loden, the board recognizes a deal, Sovereign, Seneschal. And Sovereign will stand. If I may point out something he just said, my lord, I understand your will is absolute, and he will fry in the sun, as you have stated, only you to recant that statement. Before it is absolute, that is typically to a vote. Why I say a vote is because you've been wanting him to see and feel the weight of what he's done. I know you well enough to know that as your advisor for so many years, the key point, and as in any financial deal, is to understand the needs and wants of your clients, correct? But also in this situation of this little venture. He has no idea how deep he stepped in it, and none of us knew of Neely, and I would bring to light the relationship of Neely, many of us didn't know, and that was under your reign. Not that you were wrong, but we trusted too much in-house. We didn't check those we thought were suspicious, and we allowed these things to go unnoticed, thinking that we were above them. It has cost us much. There are many Ventru not here any longer that should have been our strength because we allowed skeletons in the closet, mistakes unchecked, and we never had these meetings enough. In all due forgiveness, my lord, if it's the one thing Kevin Jackson has proven, is that not having your leadership makes us weak. The city is only strong because of you. We only have the Camarilla because of you. After all, you birthed the laws of Elysium. It is to you who Queen Anne mentions in her diaries, and it is to you who is a jewel of the Camarilla, not the city, because the city is the will of you. If you can find it in your heart to forgive him for being ignorant, ill-represented, and admittedly raised by a Sabbat stooge, then we can admit that we can raise him proper, that we can all treat this as an opportunity to treat him accordingly. He will do nothing without our permission. He will go nowhere without your blood and his lips. And I request, instead of killing an asset that understands his place, that you force him into the bond. 3 nights, 3 times. Thrice he has made a mistake, 1 drink for every failing that would cost him his life. And in accordance, Mr. Ballard is tasked, and one of the eldest children you have, my lord, to teaching him the correct way. If he's able to do so, his life is spared. If at the end of his agoge he still can't do so, well, then we have no choice than to all agree to kill him, but then we all must drink from you. This is what I request. This is what true succor is. It is risking your neck out of noblesse oblige to see somebody turned around the correct way. And he'll sit. Loden will merely look around, and he won't say that it's to a vote, but pretty much people begin raising their hand for their own reasons. Now, Sullivan is sick to his stomach. I'm going to give you that off the bat. You're being bloodbound. You're being put under the gauge to bow. Like, what else could they do to you? At some point, it's like, please put me in the sun. That might be better. But it's the way Sovereign did it. And you begin wondering if maybe this room had the idea to do this the entire time. As if it might not have been so bad if you were here earlier to discuss with them. It's weird. You recall Sovereign saying, show up a half hour early. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that, Loden seems a little flustered, right? Because he's being disobeyed, really. That's what's going on. And he'll just simply say, the board acknowledges the will that is expressed, and as the head, I will, on behalf of the Euphort, accept the terms of your punishment. Mr. Sullivan, you absolutely have the right to choose death, my preference, over the situation. It is up to you.
I choose service, my lord, if you'd allow it.
You will receive the privilege of drinking my blood. We will make arrangements accordingly. Your servitude will not be abused. You are Ventrue, but you will learn. Success is more than in the blood. It is the demand placed upon us. That said, we now vote on Kevin Jackson's existence, his ineptitude. His failed coup at using the La Sombra as an inn to the Camarilla will be recognized. He failed to make them a part of the Camarilla accordingly. He did not win the favors of the Permission Council as he was supposed to. In accordance, he has waged a war openly with Carlisle over family matters that now spill over to violate the masquerade. Accordingly, I will request that you, Mr. Ballard, lead the call to a turnover in Princeton, of where you will convince the Permission Council, Mr. Sovereign, to return what is mine to me. I will not always be in this state. I will return Chicago to its normalcy, but it will be when I choose. Until the interim, Mr. Sovereign, you will sit in my stead, but you will only retain the title of Seneschal accordingly. Does the board agree with these terms? We will start with the lowest amongst us in dignitas, that is you, Mr. Sullivan.
He'll raise his hand in agreement.
Everyone, and I do mean everyone, is like, well, of course, right? You want it back? Why not? Except Weatherbottom. He doesn't raise his hand. And Loden will note that. He'll just sort of Quester Weatherbottom. You wish to defy me? And he'll raise his hand. Hey, if I could talk. The board recognizes Bobby Weatherbottom. Yeah, well, he'll stand up. What I got to say is that if you return to Princeton and no one knows you're alive still, it was a shock to me tonight to see you, and I am so happy. And he'll say it with a smirk that lets you know he's full of shit. If anybody in this room knew he was still alive, it was that guy. And he's like, well, here's the story. I know what's going on with the Anarchs, and I know of Riot, and thus we know of Riot. I also know it wasn't Riot that killed Critias. I know it simply seems that way. I know because Riot stayed in Gary because we can't find Juggler. That's the main thing. Anita Wainwright's all up in arms because she needs to find Juggler to make peace with the current Baron of Gary, which is Juggler's Child, who's all in arms because she can't find her sire. They also can't find Modius. So something bigger is afoot. However, not so big that it stopped a revolutionary council from accepting the smokescreen to kickstart the war they now have. Something else is going on. Now, I don't know about you. There's something you said. Damien investigated. He found several things. You said that the doors were cleanly manipulated to design to appear to be up, but they weren't. Maybe the old man didn't see it. How would things be altered in his own domain that a rumored Methuselah of his caliber wouldn't even notice it? Who could have walked in hidden and not be seen and wait for him to come in to launch an ambush? And it's also the placement of the ashes of the room as if it was orchestrated. Was he even killed there? His heart was cut out and removed? That's not normal. That's psychotic is what that is. I'm not taking anything off the table from the Sabbat, is what I'm saying. It only makes sense. Critias foolishly allowed that Sabbat group, and there were 4 of them that I recall, sit in a room and learn from his feet. And they were able to come to his domain and see what was going on and everything. Two left, and they did nothing to stop those two. They didn't hunt those two. They didn't even really report on those two. Just 4 now 2, and then here's Sullivan. And that's all we received. It's Tally the Hound who gave that testimony to Damien as well. That when he went into this room, he said this hit couldn't have been performed better unless he did it. Now, where that guy's an arrogant son of a bitch, there's something that we all can agree to. Pound for pound, Tally the Hound is synonymous with the fear that Theo Bell is brought up with in conversation. And Bell's the killer bee. He was known for destroying Sabat packs on his own. I can only imagine if Tally the Hound says that that was a clean hit, and it was. Nobody knew that there was a dead body sitting in that office and they avoided it. And it was Damien who also pointed out he had a hard time finding that office where Sullivan didn't. And we know Sullivan originally reported it because that's what Damien said. So it connects in that capacity. Someone wants us to see something, but not the full picture. But now we have a war on our hands, and the Anarchs are all up in arms, and we can't stop that war unless we find other key elements. What I'm saying is, Kevin Jackson's crime to the city is that Kevin Jackson is a racist idiot. He simply is. He, black gangs, Black History Month, the whole nine. He can't, everyone's an enemy that isn't his color. And even if you make more money than him, you're wrong. If you don't listen to him, you're wrong. Everything else. He just doesn't seem to be a guy who wants anything but personal power. And that's everything that we said was wrong with Sullivan. Maybe he needs an coach. I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is, what I'm hearing is a smokescreen. And let's not write it off to be that simple. I don't think it's just his fault. But what I will say, when it comes to you taking the throne back, absolutely. We need an elder who... How come you're not pulled and don't feel that weird beckoning thing, by the way? And you'll just see Loden. He'll look at him smooth in the face and say, there's no venture that feels the pull because our lineage holds true. You know what the history is of our clan. And in that, a certain freedom has been gifted to us. Or perhaps another truth can be said as I pondered that very thought. Noblesse oblige. There is an ancient that is on our behalf, believes in it 100%. If there isn't venture in the world to maintain a certain decorum, what you will have is chaos. Why even Mithras has returned to his throne. I can do no less. Are you finished, Weatherbottom? I have a ton of theories. And I think the most important, though, has to be about the fact that when you consider Cornelius coming back and conveniently being up here, that guy doesn't sit, and Loden will wave his hand aside, and Weatherbottom will just sit down. It's not dominate. It's simply respected fear. Like, like dodging the flow of it. And you'll hear Loden just, Cornelius is a plant that I had placed in the 60s to maintain control of the entire movement. I saw where the violence was going, and I wanted to get ahead of it. And I had certain assets I needed protected. The African-American culture was vital and important as a workforce to the industrial movement when they came through. They would take the jobs no one else wanted, and for cheaper, this they've done hand over fist, willingly with eyes open, because at least they could work. All that required was them to have equal rights in terms of having social security numbers, valid homes, bills, and credit they can improve. We gave leeway. A certain percentage was allowed to be hemorrhaged to the upper middle class. The rest would have to earn their way from poverty. Bottom line, that's the story. And mostly mortals did that. I just made sure Cornelius was my plant so we knew what was going on. He preached peace. That went fine. Someone poached him and it was a Bruja, of which I don't know. I've always assumed it was Carlisle. And that would make sense to me. That being the case, don't worry about him. In fact, I will pull Mr. Black when needed to the side as he unmistakably still owes me for his existence. Once he realizes I'm around, he will fade into obscurity. And that won't be a problem. I assure you of that. It's at this point, you'll just see everybody do what maybe you're doing. They just look to him. There is a feeling that is pulled off here with understanding some of that and then hearing that. Tyrannical, plans within plans, definitely draconian, and you have a feeling, hopefully delivered correctly, that the boss is back. That this was okay, you kept the seat warm, but you fucked it up. And then he came back to correct it so far, but clearly he has his personal issues, and he's not taking it back officially fully, but he's going to handle this. We're just getting started with what's going on. However, this gets done, And the prince simply closes. He stands and says, "We've heard enough this evening. I do feel this board meeting has come to an end, unless Mr. Sullivan, you have anything you would like to add. Typically, the way these meetings open up, for your information, is that we announce all who is present, we hear all dignitas, we hear the order of the speakers. Issues are brought to the fore. Even if they've been brought to the permission, they're now being brought to the head of the board and to the board itself, and we vote on them accordingly. You weren't here, therefore your grievances or advantages weren't heard to be weighed. You have that opportunity now, if anything."
I would like to know if my coterie is still intact.
There's a grin that Sovereign will have, is like the audacity of this guy, right? Like, you're under, and you get it, right? Under everything else, you still manage to, but it's Loden who doesn't cringe when you say it, and he'll look at you and he'll straighten up. His icy blue eyes will meet yours. You still show a loyalty to those under you.
I was set to lead them, and it would be remiss of me if I was not to deliver results.
Well said. If they agree, and I do mean this, your fate is yours to me and of worth. Their blood bond, and I do mean their blood bond, that is the price they pay. Their violations for traditions given is servitude. A length of time will be a year and a day. That's tradition. Do you think this is fair, Mr. Sullivan?
I do.
If they agree to the servitude of a year and a day, and it will be to a person of our choosing from the board, I'll inform you later. Most likely it will be Ballard. He is Primogen. They will report to him. They will accordingly accept it. And I also think if he is himself of late, it is the worst choice that they wish to have. Would you agree?
It is but a small price to pay.
I will speak with this council, this revolutionary council, which is something ransomed. I will give them their due with an understanding. They trade those they have still, which of course they've contacted us and have that collateral. In accordance, we will remove Kevin Jackson from Princeton, but it will be at the requirement of either Riot or Anita Wainwright stepping up as Primogen for Clan Bruja to fill that spot and thus quell the rebellion of any other anarchs. In this way, their revolutionary council takes stock in their city, and it stops any violence, and we can keep tabs on them. Mr. Sullivan, are you capable of delivering this message?
I will.
Your failure is your life. Say it.
My failure, my life.
Well said. This meeting is brought to a close. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. And in accordance with the scene, unless Sullivan wishes to say anything else. You're right. We'll call it fade to black. It leaves just like you think. People getting up. Nobody approaches you to say anything because, quite frankly, they're leaving accordance with one exception. I want you to note that that woman stays with Loden and she speaks. It's Greek. You know it's Greek. And he responds accordingly. He said he wasn't old. According to whose fucking measure?
Right.
She doesn't give off an aura of insurmountable power, but there's something, it's like she's muting herself. She could be more, but like she's made space for him in that regard. It really bothers you. There might be two of them walking around of that equivalent level, but definitely the respect and maybe fears there. However, Bobby is probably the most creepiest of the room because when he walks up the Loden, he more or less like hits him in the shoulder like, hey, so where are we going? Where am I driving you? What are we doing? What do we got going on? And Loden just stares at him as she's laughing. And he's like, you will not until. He goes, no, like all that. Oh, yeah, that's it's the anarch in me. Oh, I'm sorry. And she'll smirk and he'll be like, I too much. Yeah. He'll look down and he'll smile and goes, but like, I still got to show you that whole, tablets and, apps moving, and Loden will just stare at him like he's not amused at these lessons coming up. That's the part I want you to get. Despite the meeting and how serious it was, everyone else leaves in their own agenda, but I need you to get as DJ. You're not wrong in the assumption that a venture must handle his stuff on his own and, all accolades and risk and reward, except you see how the majority of these people in risk and reward are lost in their own right. But to those who have power, look at what Loden has. Whoever that woman is, there's a personal relationship that serves him well. And he said his children helped him live. And as far as your count, you know your lineage. clearly Bobby. You know Sovereign. You definitely know Ballard. That's 3. You never knew if Neely was, but if Neely was, that means you, and you don't really want to think of that thought. Right? How deep's the rabbit hole go? You know, we're just gonna wave it off. But before you leave, you will be stopped at the door to wait because you have something you must do. And that is, of course, drink once from Loden.
Right.
And I will leave you to understand how that is, but it is done with respect. It is done when everybody leaves and it's just you and him for clear understanding. You're at least giving the respect that anybody in the clan with dignitas would be expected to have. And we will get into that later. If DJ isn't aware of what the titles are and what you've been throwing around and what all that means, I invite you to learn in game.
Will do.
It is a great time for you to use Ballard to help teach you to do that. That's a proper mall. And if you don't know, now's the time to learn. And it's a better experience in-house in role than it would be if someone just looked it up and saw it and went, okay, now I get it.
Got it. No, you're completely right.
Thanks, bro. This catches it up. I'm certain there's going to be a coterie that's happy that you didn't just agree that they should be killed and swept under the rug. I can't wait till you have to tell the Sabbat they have to be bloodbound to Ballard for a year and a day. And I'm certain that's going to go over like the best news in the world. And well done, sir. So we're all good. Breadshaw, if you could bring us to a close. Thanks, folks, for watching. We'll catch you next game.